Ready online? Ready online? Okay.
This one. Okay. I call to order this meeting of the Issaquah School Board. Today is Thursday, May 28th, 2026. At this point, will everyone please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. First up on our agenda is public comment. Public comment is an opportunity for the board to receive public statements on items not listed on the meeting agenda for possible board action. If you have a point of view for the specific agenda items, which tonight is an update on the student representative program and monitoring report for results 4, I'll ask you to hold your comment until the particular agenda item. Public comment time is not intended to raise an issue unique to a particular student, staff member, or an administrator. Rather, it is your time to provide your insights on issues more generally and of a wider concern. As a general rule, the board will not respond to public comment. I ask you to begin your comments by clearly stating your name and your attendance area. Please limit your comments to 2 minutes. We will be using a timer. The board neither endorses nor censors any opinions expressed during public comment. Please keep your comments civil and respectful. Avoid personal attacks on others. In place of applause, you can acknowledge a speaker by lifting your hands in a waving motion like this. We will start public comment with those in the room and then go to those on Zoom. So let's see here. First on my list is Aaron Marsh.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
We can.
Oh, perfect. Superintendent Talyuk and Board of Directors, you made many mistakes with me, but the most important one is you didn't consider what I teach. I'm a PE teacher. Any sports fans know the game is not won in the first, second, or third quarter. It's won in the fourth quarter. And thank you, Dad, upstairs. I know you're bowling with Jesus right now for teaching me to love sports. I will promise to give God the glory in the storm. 2 Corinthians 5:7. I'm asking you today, board, since you're doing cuts with teachers and admin, I would like you to govern this school district with integrity by following the state laws, by following your own policies. All these taxpayers, parents, teachers, students, coaches know where those admin cuts need to be made. And you know it as well. You can sit up there and think that you haven't received information, and you have. It's all time-stamped. I'm not sure if you guys watch the news, but Longview School Board District, you're flirting with the same outcome. So I'm going to wrap this back to my sports analogy. It's won in the fourth quarter, and this right here, this is called a deep 3, which means this is my shot, the buzzer beater, and it's nothing but net. You know where those cuts are. 1's already in this room, 2 haven't gone, and you know it. So here's my shot, buzzer beater, nothing but net, deep 3, Donna Hood, you know you should go. Thank you.
Next up is Tessa Hurley.
Good evening, board and superintendent. My name is Tessa Hurley. I am an ISD substitute teacher, co-president of the Endeavor PTSA, a weekly classroom volunteer, and a former nationally board certified special education teacher. Tonight, I speak as an incredibly concerned parent. I am here to advocate for an increase in behavioral staffing. My daughter's second grade classroom became so unsafe and unsustainable, it ultimately led to the loss of our experienced teacher 6 weeks prior to the end of the school year. As a result of the ongoing unpredictable environment, my daughter developed severe anxiety and is now on medical leave to be homeschooled. Before leaving, she experienced ongoing classroom evacuations was hit by thrown objects, knocked over by a classroom, and observed profound profanity and defiance. We spoke to her teacher about the impact she was experiencing and her loss of learning. We emailed and met with school administration and began in-school services from a Swedish therapist. However, we observed no change to the unpredictable classroom environment. With my daily presence in the building, I see staff pushed to their limits. I see children losing critical instructional time. I support inclusive education, but true inclusion requires a robust infrastructure. Right now, ISD is failing its own mission to provide all students the opportunity and support needed to meet their highest capability in a safe and welcoming environment. This is a crisis of capacity, not a lack of classroom management skills. Unfortunately, this is not a single classroom or school issue. Across our district, there are similar stories to the one I have described. Alongside other ISD families who presented a formal petition to this board on May 7th, I'm asking for a review of the impact the current inclusion model has on all learners, urging the board to prioritize trained behavioral staffing to ensure a successful inclusion model with a learning atmosphere that is safe for all learners. Our community deserves to know that you've heard our concerns and are prepared with a plan of action. Let's restore the resources and safety all our students desperately need. Thank you.
Thank you. And next is Allison.
Hi, my name is Allison. I have a first grader and incoming kindergartner at Apollo, and I'm here to talk about teaching through technology. Dr. Horvath, educator turned neuroscientist, author of Digital Delusions, states that teaching through screens takes twice as long and creates a shallow learning experience. So we spend more money, more time with less results. I could cite studies, but I have an example of my own. I'm the book fairy in my home. This is a book from my childhood. The Trojan Horse, How the Greeks Won the War, grade reading level 2 to 4. I leave these all over my house for my kids to read. My first grader loves it. She read the book the following day, gave a riveting retelling, good enough for a drunk history episode. My memory of this is from the Brad Pitt movie in 2004, so I forgot a lot. She let me know it's about a trade war and there's tariffs. It took 10 years and the Trojan Horse was the Hail Mary of a play. I thought it was a tragic love story. Thanks a lot, Brad Pitt. So she reads the book, tells me everything about it. I asked her, what is your favorite ed tech program? She said, Pebble Go. It's a research program. We can watch videos about animals. I asked her, what did you learn from this program? She couldn't remember anything. She could not come up with one fact because engagement is not learning. I give her this book. She tells me Homer wrote the Iliad. You give her ed tech, can't recall much. So my daughter told me that when the Trojan horse was brought into the city, there was a woman yelling, doom, doom is upon us. This is how she waved her hands. I think ed tech is our Trojan horse, and I'm a woman standing in front of you yelling doom. I want my daughter to have the ability to opt out of learning through technology. She's not the only one. Her biology is no different than your children's biology. We have not learned differently in thousands of years. She needs books, papers, pencils, teachers, not programs. I fear ed tech is the Trojan horse that may burn education down, and I hope you heed my warning. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else in the room that would like to give public comment? Okay. And do we have anybody online? Oh, we do. Okay. Yes, for the individual online, please come online, turn on your camera and again, introduce yourself with your
Hi.
feeder pattern and with your name. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Shweta, and I 100% agree with what
Oh, I
Alison
can't
just
hear you.
mentioned.
One
Oh,
second.
sorry,
Okay,
I
now we can.
unmuted myself.
Yeah, now we can. Go ahead. Start again. Thank you.
Okay. My name is Shweta, and I also have a kid in elementary school, and I 100% agree with what Alison said. I have been noticing, I do volunteer quite frequently at the school as well. So I have been noticing the increasing use of several online platforms and, digital platforms in the classroom. And I don't see any kind of help for the children in any of those. I can see that it's just a distraction. They are aimlessly wandering around in the platform. They're either trying to understand how to navigate it, or once they do, it becomes a more of a playful banter rather than actually using it to learn anything. So I completely support her on this issue where I do feel that we need to reduce the amount of technology which is being used in elementary schools, and it's completely unnecessary. Thank you very much for giving me a chance to speak.
Thank you. Have anyone else? Not seeing anyone. Okay. Great. Thank you. This will close public comment. We will now move on to the approval of the consent agenda. The consent agenda is a meeting management tool whereby the board is able to pass multiple items with one motion. The consent agenda items have been reviewed by the board prior to this meeting. Any board member may remove an item from the consent agenda and place it on the regular agenda for discussion. Do I have a motion?
I move the consent agenda be approved as presented.
And a second?
I second the motion.
Thank you. It has been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented and amended. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, and the consent agenda passes. Moving right along. Next up is the establishment of the regular agenda. Superintendent, are there any changes to the regular agenda?
No, there are no changes to the regular agenda.
Okay. Great. Next up is a work study recap. Prior to tonight's regular meeting, the board met with the ISD administration to discuss the strategic plan, and I will open the floor to any of my colleagues that would like to comment.
I guess,
Go ahead.
all right, I guess I'll kick us off.
Director Coyne, thank you.
So appreciated the opportunity to see an update of the strategic plan during our work study this evening. I think some good work, good conversation too, but, applaud the district for the good work that they're doing around the strategic plan. I think there's, definitely, I think some of the items, they're definitely aspirational in nature, but that's what a strategic plan is there for. So again, I appreciate the conversations the district's had and appreciated the conversation we had as a board this evening as well.
Thank you. I recognize also we do have this as an agenda item, so perhaps we'll hold further comment until that point. Okay, great. Next on the agenda is works in progress. This is a standing opportunity for the superintendent to provide a brief status report on various projects and activities in the district.
Great, thank you. This is really looking at the last couple of weeks of the school year. So the works in progress are really about looking at transitions and getting ready for graduations and transition ceremonies. I do want to recognize that the PTSA Council leadership has been established for next year. We have a new president, Lauren Stevenson. We have a VP of Secondary Schools returning as Jennifer Rinker, VP of Elementary North, Tatiana Neal, VP of Elementary South, Rachel Cox, Secretary Amy Miller, and Treasurer Laura Forney. So congratulations to the new slate. And some of them are returning, but the next slate for leadership for the PTSA Leadership Council for the district. We've also had many celebrations to recognize both family volunteers and educator volunteers that have been working across the schools and across the district. So congratulations to all the Golden Acorn winners that were recognized over the past week. We've had multiple celebrations, including today, to recognize the incredible work that both our staff and our families provide to support our schools. So that's been incredible. In particular, I'm also excited to attend the inaugural Bridges of Belonging event next Tuesday here at this district office at 6 p.m., which will honor students. And it was really a charge to our students to see how they can think about building community. And it will be divided into 3 levels, K through 5, 6 through 8, and 9 through 12, where students were selected to be recognized, where they've identified a problem and a purpose, and propose a solution rather, related to inclusion, respect, and empathy in action. And I want to thank Lavinia Harding for her work and leadership to get this inaugural event up and running, to see what our students have to say about things that they need to, they'd like to improve in their school, and also what they might say about what might be a good way to handle that. So that will be an amazing event. And then finally, Laura Nee has been in the leadership position of president for the PTSA Council for 2 years, and I want to acknowledge her service and thank her for her partnership with the district. And she will still be volunteering as part of the leadership, but in a different role and capacity. So thank you to Laura. We have graduations and transition ceremonies coming up. We also have several more clap outs that are happening at some of our elementary schools. A clap out, if you want to know what that is an opportunity for graduating seniors to return to the elementary school and to walk the halls. And the students get to clap in their honor, and then they get clapped out of their journey here in the Issaquah School District. In some cases at Grand Ridge, you can certainly see on the some of the bulletin boards, some of the specific places and spaces where our graduating seniors will be going to after they complete their journey here. Another reminder of, what the future holds for our elementary students. And I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing some of those, videos captured on those clap outs. So that will be a fun thing to look out for if you're in elementary school. We have the Academy for Community Transition ceremony recognizing young people who are moving on to away from their community transition program on Wednesday, June 10th. And we have Skyline, Liberty, and Issaquah High graduations on Thursday, June 11th. And we have Gibson Eck on Friday, June 12th. So really that's what's happening right now in the district. It's a lot of, wrapping up the school year, having these important recognition events and preparing for next year at the same time. So those are the big things that are happening.
Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is an update on our student representative program in the introduction of our new student representatives for the 2026-2027 season. And I think I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Hauser and Director Coyne.
All right, good evening. Marcel Hauser, Senior Advisor in Strategy Lead. So this is probably my favorite time of the year. We get to meet amazing young people from across the district. This process is always met with a lot of interest. So I want to give a little bit of background on the process, and I'm going to pass it to Director Coyne to make the announcement of the 4 new reps joining our team. So just to reset, we have student reps throughout the district, 2 per school. So 2 at Liberty, 2 at Gibson Eck, 2 at Skyline, and 2 at IHS. We sent out this application to the community on March 9th. So it typically runs for a month. Students always love to get their applications in, usually a week prior, but we love processing, but we really do read every application. So Director Coyne, Director Mullings, they're looking through every application and every answer. So nothing gets left unchecked. We had a total of 61 applications this year, so high interest in this. So folks that were selected should feel very proud. It's a very competitive process. And one piece I want to make sure we highlight the teachers in the district who fill out recommendations for each of the 61 students. So each student requests 2 applications or 2 recommendations from their teachers. So thank you, teaching staff, for taking the time to do that, because it does take a bit of time to fill out those recommendations. We have screened, we have interviewed, and we have selected. There were interviews April through May at the 4 schools. And just to kind of give a flavor, there were panels consisting of the board members, of activity coordinators, student reps, current student reps, civics government teachers, just to name the team. So very comprehensive team made up of folks that were screening. And with that, just to hit the drum roll with folks that were selected, Director Coyne, you want to name our 4 selected student reps?
And once we name our student reps, are we going to have them come stand up here, I guess? Okay. All right. Well, it's a pleasure to be able to announce our new student reps for the upcoming school year. So I'm going to start with Samantha, or Sam, Pacheco from Gibson Eck. So Sam, if you want to stand and then go ahead and put up there by the dais. Next, I have Pia Sheth from Skyline. Margaret, or Maggie Cleveland from Issaquah High. And then Matthew Ung from Liberty. Congratulations to this group. It was a pleasure to get to know all 4 of you as we went through the interview process. So congratulations, and we look forward to working with all of you in the school year to come. So congrats.
Picture in front of the.
Yes, thank you.
I get Mark, you man. All right, congratulations. All right, the second portion of this is to thank our reps that have been with us that are leaving. We have 4 that are rolling off the board next year. So if you can wave your hand, folks that are here. So we have Milo, Nilla, who are leaving next year, who will roll off the board, and we have Viday, who will be returning next year. But just to name the reps that serve currently, so we have Milo, Krish, Nilla, Ava, Viday, Rex, Leah, and Micah will be returning. But Ava, we have one special rep who is a senior, who we would love to hear from Ava on her next steps and plans for her future.
Yeah, I think it's been a really fun position to have. I hope to attend, or I will be attending, New York University for pre-law in the fall, and I think this is an opportunity that has given me a lot of insight into what that would be like.
Awesome. Congratulations, Ava. All right. That's it for me.
Okay. Well, we need a motion. We have a motion. Do I have a motion?
All right. I move the board accept the student representatives to the board for the 2026-27 school year as presented.
I second the motion.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Welcome. That's it.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, moving along. Next up on our agenda is a capital project update. I will turn it over to Superintendent and I believe Mr. Mullins.
Great. Yeah. So Mr. Mullins was probably getting ready to come down at a different time, but we're accelerated in our agenda. So we'll welcome Mr. Mullins. So this is a regular part of our capital project updates. We've had a capital project oversight committee since the last meeting and just a lot of work underway. So we're moving into another phase of our capital projects work and excited to get the update.
Perfect. Good evening, everyone. Tom Mullins, Director of Capital Projects. Can I give an update? Going to share the latest. Let's try that again. Share the latest on the new high school construction, review planning efforts for the 26 critical repairs levy, and recap the last capital projects oversight committee meeting. Construction, clearing, grading, and excavation continues on the site. Stockpiling and building materials is occurring in preparation for the ongoing work. Construction of retaining walls throughout the site was expected to start this week. We've been delayed a week, so it's probably going to be next week. It's an update on that item. The design build team, which is made up of the contractor and architect, are continuing to work with both the cities of Sammamish and Issaquah to obtain the remaining permits. And just as a note, there's going to be ongoing permits through the life of the project. So summer construction, summer permits for the health department, all sorts of different kinds of permits, but we'll continue to get those. And there's a link at the bottom there to the construction webpage. Just a couple positive notes on the project. Wanted to point out, there's going to be tree replacement, enhanced landscaping on the site. The site will change drastically from what it is now to what it is and when it's completed with the landscaping enhancements. Stormwater management improvements. The stormwater in the site right now is in an unmanaged state. It falls and goes where it goes. We will be bringing that up to the standards, enhanced standards. And we're going to, although we will bring traffic into the area for the high school, we're also doing significant improvements on 228th and 43rd. So, and this will bring 228th up to the standards that of the city of Sammamish that the whole 228th will eventually be. Just another reminder of what the site was before. It's that's the Google Earth. This is what it is now, and we'll continue to do these updates of what the project as we progress, kind of, I don't want to say time lapse, but something similar. Lots of earthwork moving is going on, what we call mass excavation and grading, moving dirt from the high points on the site, which is in the south part of the site, over to the north, digging out storm ponds, that kind of thing, and building up the low areas. More pictures of that, large equipment. That truck in the center there on the right might look small, but that's one of those giant trucks with 8-foot tall tire wheels. So that hauls a lot of dirt. And they're moving all over the site. Some of the construction materials, stormwater structures being prepared to install. And this is that area there that's excavated with those materials in it is the future storm pond underneath the sports field and the water tower in the background. Any questions on the high school update? Yes, Director.
Since I drive by the site daily, see there's a new round of trees that are now being or have been removed.
Yep.
I presume that's for preparation for this road widening.
Yep. The right-of-way
So-
improvements. Yep.
Want to clarify. So the road is being widened to 5 lanes per Sammamish city requirement. Right. This isn't like a desire of the school district.
No,
So
this-
we are doing all of this investment in those roads because we're being mandated to as part of the mitigation and permitting process.
correct.
So those trees that all just came down were because Sammamish has dictated that we widen the road to what they want it to be.
Correct.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? In the high school? Okay. 26 critical repairs levy planning. So we continue to work with operations and facility departments to organize and improve the project list and priorities. We're going through there and comparing it with cash flow and setting up the projects and getting them ready to go. So they'll fit in during that 4-year levy period. The project status, list and status will be reviewed regularly as part of our ongoing work because we can, some of that, there'll be some new priorities set in there as things change within the list. So, and again, projects will be adjusted over time as priorities change. A roof that's further out in the cycle has problems, we might have to bring it up near, those kind of things. This is a chart showing the levy collections, which for 27, 28, 29, and 30 levy collections are done on a calendar year. Of course, we work on a fiscal year, but available funding is the top line. That's how much in 27 we'll collect in levy funding, what we plan to spend. And then we have what we've titled as an annual funding surplus plus or gap. You'll see in that first cycle, we have about a $800,000 gap or surplus, and that's to leave room for those projects as they come in and the priorities might change. We didn't want to cut that too tight. So, and it all works out. If you come out to the end 2030, we'll have spent all the money in there. Levy collection begins the spring of 27. And because the levy collections, just a reminder, start in spring of 27 and received in installments, only a portion of that first year is available So there's some planning that has to go in there to make sure we have enough money during that time to finish those projects. Any questions on the 26 levy, critical repairs levy planning?
Director Anderson.
Thank you for this. Looking at the numbers, I think the only concern that I have is that there's not enough of like a nest egg for, say, a project that's planned for like 2029 needs to happen in 2027 because something catastrophic happens or something like that. Is there other funds to help with that? Because again, my experience with like the Maple Hills roof, right? We've had to like Band-Aid for a while until that levy money comes in. And I just like lessons learned. Do we have other opportunities we can pull money from if needed, if something in the plan needs to happen sooner than later?
Yeah, great question. Mark Turney, Chief Finance Operations. So I'll tackle this one for Tom. So this is our bucket of money. And I think, so one of the things that we're trying to demonstrate is that we are applying a priority to these projects. And so if we get something that is going to be a high priority, I think part of the question is if we need it in 2030. So there are lower priority items that we could adjust. We would come back and let you know how it's going, whether we need to bump a project up, things are costing too much, or it needs to happen quicker, or you need to pull one from year 4 to year 2. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is we will juggle the existing funds and the type of projects, and we will be transparent with you that this may sacrifice a project here or one of the lower tier projects, but we need to prioritize another area. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Perfect. Capital Projects Oversight Committee, we met in May, and staff shared a presentation highlights. We talked very similar to this. We talked about the new high school project was one of the highlights. We quickly touched on the 22 levy, critical repairs levy, and then we spent most of our time on the planning for the 26 critical repairs levy. The CPOC committee had lots of good questions, comments, suggestions for projects, how to phase projects, how to phase the projects, the budget. They had similar questions like Director Anderson had. We explored financial strategies, which was an interesting conversation. Risks, benefits, different types of things. It was just a real good conversation. And we feel we walked away with both parties having learned and some good information to use. So, and our next project at the CPOC committee is in September. Any questions?
Director Coyne.
Thank you for the information. I just wanted to make a note. I had an opportunity to attend the Capital Projects Oversight Committee and want to thank Tom and the team for I thought it was great. The way that it was organized, the way that the data was shared, a really engaging conversation. I mean, I go to a lot of meetings within the district, and it was one of the most interesting I had been in quite some time. You have areas, you have folks that are there who have expertise in the industry, and just a really interesting dialogue. And I think that the way that the data was outlined, particularly on the status of the 2022 critical repairs levy, and good questions, things I hadn't even thought of before. There was a dialogue around the location of our elementary schools and the cities that they sit in. And someone said, oh, only 3 of the, I forgot specifically what the topic was, but it was noted that only 3 of the elementary schools with an Issaquah address were impacted by something. Well, we have 16 elementary schools in the district. Only 3 have an Issaquah address.
Yep.
And the other crazy thing is 7 have a Sammamish address.
Yep.
I mean, I've been around for a long time and had never realized that and thought, wow, that's interesting. It was just some interesting information, data that's accessible.
Yep.
But these folks brought some good things to light. And just, I appreciate it. I appreciated the work that's been done to invite different people into the space there. And it was interesting too, even some of the conversations, some questions that maybe that came up that maybe you could say were a little more controversial. Members of the committee then would address those.
Yep.
It was just, they had a dialogue together. And I think that they put other members kind of at ease by that too. So I really appreciated it. The opportunity to attend and look forward to attending future meetings.
Thank you.
Yep.
Director Anderson.
Can you remind me, and maybe members of the community who aren't familiar with CPOC, how many people are actually on that committee and are they well attended?
There's 26 members of the committee, community members. We've averaged not averaged, but we've had a high of 24 for the first meeting. We've dropped down to 18. This one was the least attended with about 8. And we're strategizing with communications on how to get them re-engaged or contact members who may not feel they want to continue, and then allow us to go out and find more members. So
Great, thank you.
yeah, it was nice. So the members that did show up, like Director Coin-Ponit, very engaged, which is good.
I'll add that we do know that some members of the original group have taken different roles in the community, and their schedules might preclude them from participating and joining these meetings, and they might have their time allocation elsewhere.
Yep.
So we do want to do a courtesy refresh because it's been about 1.5 years now. It's always good to check in on people's commitment, and that might also make more room to invite others who have expertise and interest now that we're moving to a different phase of some of our work with the passage of the 2026 levy.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Okay, moving along. Next up is the monitoring report for results for life management and personal awareness. And I think I need to start with a motion.
All right. I move the board accept the monitoring report for results for life management as presented.
Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
Great, thank you. Okay, we'll now have a presentation from the administration, followed by public comment.
Great, thank you. I'll just set us up before I pass it to Dr. Jacqueline Downey, that this was a lively conversation last year, and we expect to get lots of good feedback on this one this year, especially in light of the fact that the school board adopted a portrait of a graduate. There's a lot of overlapping kind of connections to that work that was done in the fall, and I appreciate that work, and I certainly know that we've looked at it through that lens as well. I also know that we had some discussion at the board retreats this spring around data sets and sort of what are the right data sets. So as we continue to refine and work with the board on what are the most salient points, this is probably one of the harder results reports to really identify what are the key data points that we want to see and over time and how I want to see that. So we look forward to that conversation, and I'll pass it over to the team.
Thank you, Superintendent. Jacqueline Downey, Assistant Superintendent, joined by Rich Mellish, Executive Director of Teaching and Learning Services. So good evening to our Board of Directors and Superintendent, and thank you for the opportunity to share about results for life management and personal awareness, the monitoring report for the 24-25 school year. At the heart of results 4 is a simple but deeply important commitment that every student is known, supported, and prepared not just academically, but as a whole person, as reflected in our portrait of a graduate. This includes their mental health, their ability to make healthy choices, and their capacity to navigate life with resilience and purpose. Much of this report is grounded in data from the Fall 2025 Healthy Youth Survey. We have strong data sets from our 6th, 8th, and 10th grade students. Unfortunately, our 12th grade students' completion rate fell below 40%, so that data is suppressed. We are analyzing our survey administration processes and making plans to adjust our approach to increase participation for the Fall 2027 Healthy Youth Survey. Overall, this data gives us both encouragement and clarity. We are seeing positive trends in student well-being, social emotional skills, and decision-making, and overall substance use remains low and below county and state averages. We are also seeing evidence that students are developing important durable life skills, resilience, persistence, and adaptability, reflected in indicators like credit recovery engagement, increased graduation rates, and strong college persistence. At the same time, this report calls us to remain focused and responsive. We are seeing a decline in the number of students who say that they have access to clubs and activities at the level they want. In response, and as discussed at the board work study today, we're proposing that the 2026-29 strategic plan refresh includes specific strategies to strengthen student voice and increase student sense of connection to activities in and beyond school. Because survey participation continues to be a challenge both locally and nationally, it's also worth considering additional qualitative ways to gather authentic student feedback as part of this student voice priority. On the Healthy Youth Survey, while other substance use decreased, there was an increase in alcohol use. In response, we are strengthening how we care for and support students. A key step forward this year was the expansion of our partnership with Youth Eastside Services, providing prevention, education, and treatment services to students. We know that mental health, anxiety, and emotional well-being remain critical focus areas as well. Lastly, we continue to invest in financial literacy as an essential life skill. Washington's Future Ready Task Force is examining graduation requirements, beginning with the class of 2031, to ensure students have meaningful educational experiences and are well prepared for their futures. The state has also adopted new financial literacy standards, and we have aligned our courses accordingly. We have expanded access through additional course offerings and embedded financial literacy instruction so our students can build the knowledge and confidence to manage their financial futures. We are also monitoring the state's direction on any future requirements and making decisions now that will position us to implement those changes well. Ultimately, this report reflects our ongoing commitment to the whole child, to ensuring that every student leaves our system not only prepared for post-secondary pathways, but equipped to lead healthy and meaningful lives. We appreciate the board's continued focus on these outcomes and look forward to your questions and discussion.
I think I see if we have public comment first on this before we go to questions. Is there anybody online? Okay. Okay. I think we'll open the floor to questions. Or comments. Yeah, Director Coyne.
All right. Thank you for the update. I think, first and foremost, I would say the report is comprehensive as always. I think that, applaud the district for all the work that they do in compiling these monitoring reports. I guess there's a couple things that during our work study, you probably got a little precursor to what I was going to maybe stress tonight. So as I'm going through the report, particularly 4.4, because that section 4.4, because that's always very important to me. This which is students will identify, understand, and develop their personal strengths and interests, connection to school, connection to sports clubs. So much of what I've thrown myself into for the last 15 or so years, supporting organizations in the community that help to bring that connection. And so I'm going through that, but the struggle I have is our survey, response rates. I think the Healthy Youth Survey, 27% response rate, our Senior Exit Survey, inconsistent across our high schools. And so I'm reading it, coming to, making conclusions based on complete data. And this is no fault of the district. And I guess I want to bring up a point that I hear a lot, particularly from students, and I'm sure our student reps will weigh in with some thoughts on this too, but that there's survey fatigue. And I guess I would challenge our students to think differently about that. I think that there's sometimes something is thrown out there and someone thinks, oh yeah, survey fatigue, I'm feeling it too. And it gets bigger and it gets bigger and it gets bigger. Well, here's the deal. We're all adults up here. We're making decisions based on that feedback that we get. So if students are not responding to these surveys, we're making conclusions based on a very small subset of students. In this case, if you're looking at the Healthy Youth Survey, 27% of students who responded. And so I guess my takeaway from this, frankly, is to challenge our students to think differently about completing these surveys. It is important, it's imperative, because in my role as a school board director, student voice is important. We're here for students. And so if we're not hearing that voice, it's very, very hard for me to go through this report and make conclusions. Lots of good information, but then I'm struggling to think, okay, hey, we've had an increase here, a decrease there, but then again, the sample size is significantly less, or we're missing data at a key high school. So I guess that's really my takeaway is it's hard to come away with a lot of actionable insights because we're lacking, a strong response rate. And again, would challenge students, particularly our student reps, how important this is, the conversations we have, and we have to have our students completing these surveys. And again, it's easy. You can get in a mindset where you think, hey, it's survey fatigue, and it sort of spreads, but we have to think differently. So those are my thoughts.
Milo, you had a question or comment.
Rep hands went up as soon as you finished your
Good.
sentence.
That's what I want.
Good. I want to also challenge you guys a little bit. I think partially the reason that we say survey fatigue is the fatigue of doing something and then not seeing the result of it. And so my challenge for you guys would be show the students, not just us. I mean, it's partially on us to show the students, but what the data does. Because a lot of the time we're like, oh, the data is anonymous. If one person doesn't respond to it, like it doesn't matter. But compare it to voting and how, I mean, if you don't get the majority, then then your bond doesn't pass. Like, really emphasize the importance of it. To the teachers to go to the students and to us to go to the students, but just making sure that we're not just like saying something without doing something. So we should make an action plan, is what I'm saying. As I think that I completely agree that making conclusions on data that have suppressed on it for about a third of the data it's completely unreasonable to ask you guys to do, because you don't want to get it wrong and you don't know. And the only way to know is to have that response. So challenge teachers, staff, students, put it on your social media. I mean, that's something that students see. Be like, on our social media, guess what? The Healthy Youth Survey is coming out soon. Reminder, this is why you should take it. All of these reasons. Even have a student talking about it, but like put it out somewhere where all of the seniors are gonna see it. So that's what I'd say.
Yes, Director Anderson.
So Milo, I kind of want to respond to some of your comments. So one of the things during our work study today that I challenged the district on is the mechanism, because I feel that when we're only getting 27%, it's really difficult to know our seniors leaving, clear mind, every well-being, all of the important factors that we're taking with these surveys, so that's one thing. And then another part of it too is we're only as good as the info we're getting back. So, we may have to find a way to really push that, hey, this may not change for you specifically because you're leaving, but the information that you're providing can help, generations to come. Like, we will get this data next year and then put plans in place that may not take effect for another year or two. So with the strategic plan, there's a couple years there where we've got to identify the work that needs to be done and then, put that work in place. So.
Great. Thank you. Vide.
The first thing I wanted to say is that I kind of witnessed this kind of survey fatigue, if you want to call it, firsthand yesterday, because we had a survey that went out yesterday during flex time at Skyline. And I had an interesting conversation with someone I hadn't really spoken to before, because we were in the same class when we took it. And the first thing they said to me when we were talking about, they didn't know I was student rep. They were talking about the surveys, like the district doesn't listen to this. Why do they even care? It's really performative. And obviously I was trying to vouch for the board. I was saying like they do care and it does matter to them. But it wasn't really getting through no matter what I was trying to say. I was saying like, oh yeah, there's policies that are highly influenced by this. There's a lot of programs that are being influenced by this. And they just wouldn't believe it because there is such a belief. Like I'd say, I mean, obviously that's a sample size of one, but like you can bring it out. And I'd wager to say that a lot of students feel that same way about, more about like what Milo was saying about people don't really see the results of what's happening. And they kind of think that each survey is just kind of a checkbox for the district. And obviously, I think if people didn't feel that way about the surveys, they would be more likely to take them. And like I know people to go so far as to say that they just click random buttons on the survey because they don't think it really means anything at all. And despite even like asking people to take the surveys, they'll just like all yes or all no or won't even put much thought into it. So I think until people can really see that these surveys mean serious things, and serious change for the district, people won't want to take them seriously.
Ava.
Something that I'd want to add there is when we talk about survey fatigue, that is really, I feel like, a conversation that kind of is encapsulated within these boardrooms. But then when I get into my actual classroom, nobody is saying, oh, well, I have survey fatigue. Like, we're getting so many surveys. Like, that's not the term that's kind of being thrown around. I think more so it's this idea that, as the other reps were saying, the surveys aren't super meaningful. And the piece that I think we could honestly like push back on a little bit, and I kind of just came to realize this, is our teachers are the ones most of the time that are presenting the surveys to students. And so if they don't see the efficacy in them, or if they don't feel listened to, then they're less likely to present this to students in a way that will create a culture of caring about them and kind of inspiring action. So when it comes to the senior exit surveys, or the healthy surveys for the seniors, I was in homeroom the other day and we were all on our laptops trying to get into the survey. It didn't really work. ClassLink was just not working at the time. So our teacher was just kind of like, okay, like do it when you can. We were at the end of the period. And I talked to some other students and I was like, did you guys take it? And they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, we don't really, like, some of that stuff doesn't happen in homeroom. It's just kind of this lack of attention. And I honestly, if our teachers feel like this isn't an effective method of communicating with students, I can't even blame them, because I've been a rep for about 2 years and I see a lot of data from student surveys. I really only hear from teachers when they do their own public comment or when they kind of fight to be advocated for in that way. And so I think that when we're inspiring a culture of advocacy, it has to happen on every level in order to be effective.
Dr. Gallagher.
Yeah, that's just what I was gonna say is I think the district needs to own part of this. And certainly if you're gonna put it during flex when you have your highest rates of absences, you're not gonna get anywhere close to the participation that you need. So something that's as important as a healthy youth survey should probably not belong in flex. There's a lot of things that just don't belong in flex. I think that it needs to be characterized by our district and our teachers as this is part of civic engagement, because this is building habits for voting. I feel the same way about voting for federal things. Like, do I feel like it makes any difference? Is my life meaningfully better? Nope. But do I still vote? Yes, because I feel that there's an obligation to do that. And I think this is the opportunity we need to build within our students from the youngest of age. Of this is just part of what you do to be engaged with your community. And yes, will you see the results immediately for most of the things we do? No, but that not instant gratification is, again, an opportunity for learning for our students that grow up in the age of pursuit of just instant gratification. So I think there's more to this that needs to be addressed in how we message, because we're going to have to get around this generational piece because it's not going anywhere.
Mila.
I think it's important to clarify that maybe like the messaging around the survey doesn't necessarily have to be students will see the results from their survey immediately, because that's kind of impossible, but maybe at least seeing the progress or progression from past survey results and kind of a little bit more clarity on what the district is actually using these results for and how it's really changing their high school experience at all. And then kind of going along with that survey fatigue piece, we just took the some survey in Flex on Wednesday. And I think it was really interesting how it was presented to us and then how the students in my class was like responded to it. But basically we were all sat down in Flex and like we just had to like open it on our laptops and do it. And we all had to use our school laptops. And the thing I noticed was that like around me, there was like comments like, oh, dude, don't even pay attention to that. Like, that's so embarrassing. Why would you answer that? Like, so and so. And I was like, oh, I kind of realized now that like those kind of comments made me realize kind of how pressure that could be put on students when they're answering a survey like this in class on kind of like on laptops. People can see your screen and kind of how that can make other students feel when they're in that environment. So I think that's also something that should be considered with these kinds of surveys specifically.
Rex.
I have a very brief comment. I know that there's a common theme, and I wanted to kind of feel this out among the other reps, but I think there's especially for things like the My Sabers and stuff like that. I think there's a commonly held notion that that's used to get in touch with kids' counselors, like reach out to certain kids and get them help if they need it. And I think, or I know that that affects, at least with some of the people that I've talked to, the way that they'll answer questions. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I don't really feel like that poorly in my mental health. Like, I don't really feel that anxious all the time. So I'm not going to answer totally truthfully because I'm okay, and I just don't want to have to go get drafted from my class into the counselor's office. Does anyone else experience that? Okay. Yeah, I just thought I'd throw that out there because I know it's another thing circling in kids' heads when they're filling out these healthy youth surveys and things like that.
Milo.
Wait, last thing, just really quick. I wanted to piggyback off what Noah said because I think potentially the point was missed when I said that students want to see results from surveys. They don't need to see the results from their surveys. They need to see the results from previous surveys. Doesn't matter which surveys. I mean, teachers could even just say like, previous students said sustainability matters to them and the district made a sustainability policy. Like, they just need to know that it actually does something. They want to see a pattern of behavior so that they know that theirs is going to be taken into consideration, not that they need to see the immediate results. It's not like an instant gratification thing. Like, it's just a pattern of behavior, building trust with our students so that they want to answer our surveys. That, I think that's the piece that maybe I didn't explain quite right the first time, but I wanted to restate it.
Thank you. Dr. Gallagher.
Pivoting back into the report, page 8, you would open up the Swedish program data. And I would love to hear the district's interpretation for why there's such wide variance in utilization of mental health or counseling resources at Issaquah versus Skyline High School. And the reason why it's surprising to me is because if you open up and look at it, the two feeder middle schools to Skyline both show robust utilization that just completely stops once they get to Skyline. I know there's a lot of differences between Pine Lake and Skyline, living it, but would love to know why that is. It's stark. It's like the reverse of if you look at feeder patterns of like PCMS and Cougar Mountain into IHS. So what's going on? I would you have the answer, but like what your opinion?
It's a good noticing, something that we'll look into further to find out more information.
So when you do that, my question it really is, how are students made aware of the resource at Issaquah High School versus the Skyline High School and probably like the feeder middle schools? Because I wonder if utilization is really dependent and driven on marketing, not on need. And that's why it's hard for us as policymakers to know, is it effective? Is it necessary? We spend a lot of levy dollars investing in this resource. So I'm trying to get a sense on why there's such wide variance of it. Or is it personnel driven of, there's someone who I really connect with at X building and someone I really don't connect with at Y building. I'd just love to hear more on that. And I know it's not necessarily an easy short answer, but
Thank you.
Director Anderson.
Again, thank you for this work. I know it's a lot of data, but it's all very thoughtful information. One thing that really stuck out for me with the Healthy Youth Survey, on page 4, when we're looking at 10th graders not able to stop or control worrying, it is decreasing, but we're still over 40%. That's an area to me I think would be beneficial to dig into deeper. And I'm just curious if the district is prioritizing any interventions at the secondary level, and like what would be a good evidence demonstrating that, that's stress is being reduced and we're addressing, 10th graders worrying.
Certainly, we do not want 40% of our 10th graders having that level of worry, even if it is a better outcome compared to King County and the state, right? 40% is still too much. So I think there's a few ways that we're investing in that. One is the partnership with Youth Eastside Services, both providing mental health counseling, but also there's a broader suite of supports that YES provides, both on-site and off-site. So they will do groups or partner on lessons and resources. So it's beyond just that one-on-one counseling. So we're very excited in this next year as we have a bigger partnership with them to explore those resources and implement in our schools. So that is one. The other is around, Rex mentioned the use of SABRS is a screener. And so it's a universal screener for social emotional well-being. And it's still pretty new for our district, I believe year 2 we're in right now. And it provides that data so that students who self-identify as saying, I need some help, I'm very anxious, that information does go to our school counselors, and we're able to provide that check-in and then determine next steps to best meet their needs. On the tier 1 level, like what are all of our students getting? We do have social emotional learning we've talked about, and embedding that and making that meaningful at the high school level. I'm looking at Rich to see if there's anything you want to add there.
No, I think you hit. No, I think you hit most of the things that immediately popped into mind. But I do want to say that back to the previous conversation, this district has invested a lot in trying to think and rethink of how do we support social emotional learning and services, mental health services, and we've moved it younger and younger to try to head that off. So we need to advertise that to our students. I'm really proud of our students for saying we don't do things just because we're told, we do things because they're meaningful to us. I think that's a strength of this generation. I just wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you to that, but I do think that this is an area, and the reason why we pulled out some of these questions that helped us to understand our students' anxiety and depression and worry is because that's really important to us. These didn't have state comparisons because the state data doesn't pull out those questions specifically on the state site, but they are important to us. So just want to kind of enforce that.
Thank you. I would ask the district to emphasize the tier 1 because as Rex said, we may not be getting good data. The number might be 70%, and students don't want to self-identify. And so whatever we can do to help, give that support, I think is beneficial for sure.
Thank you.
Director Gallinger.
I would say for me, following up on what Dr. Anderson said, I pair that with page 10 and the data that shows the increasing by grade level anxiety related to internet use. And as we look to deepen our impact from social emotional learning at the high school level, which is still, we haven't cracked that nut yet. I'm still hopeful that we'll get there. But I don't think that our students, when our students go and I see the report, like 80+% know smoking is bad. I think if we were to ask them how many of them see risk in social media use and their overall health, I don't think that they would make that connection like they do with smoking or marijuana. But it is our job as an education institution to elevate that so they understand and can be consumers that are educated on the risks of all of the internet use and social media use that they're doing. Because it is a direct correlation for mental health and anxiety. And I don't feel like we're doing our part. And that's where I feel like the social emotional part, while well intended, isn't really getting us there. Because at the end of the day, I would want to know what percent of students understand that social media, there's a correlation between their social media use and their anxiety levels. And I think we keep approaching this tangentially, and I think we need to just do it directly by asking our students that, so you really know, because ultimately that's what I care about. There are certain like meaningful things about social emotional learning that I want them to walk away from our schools knowing. And that's the top of the list for me. And that's why 11 years ago, the first thing that I did was focus on social media, digital citizenship. That's where those things came into our results for students. And that's why I feel like we're not taking the opportunity to really leverage that. And now a decade later, then like we still are now, I think, nibbling our way through a district-wide cell phone use policy, but we haven't been clear on our why either, which I think has been confusing. I think we're getting more clear on that. And we're hearing a lot of groundswell from parents and community members. But I think we have the opportunity to lead on this on behalf of our students. And I think those are the parts of like the direct engagement or the direct dialogue that I feel like we're kind of just coming across, we're approaching this not as directly as I think we could.
I appreciate that comment. And as we look at the questions from our tech survey, right on page 11, they dance around what you're talking about, but they don't directly ask that question and make that correlation with mental health and screen time. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Ava.
Okay, so two things I wanted to comment on. The first thing is I definitely agree that we don't have as much of an understanding of what the potential risks of social media use are, but I also think it's important to highlight that understanding the risks of social media has less of an initial shock value and therefore can be less influential for younger students than showing them a picture of popcorn lung. If I'm trying to explain like the way that dopamine reliance or like relying on social media for dopamine can cause you to like have a lack of motivation or can cause you to have more anxiety. I first need to kind of understand and explain the mechanism through which that works. And there's just a deeper level of understanding that is necessary. So I think that it would just be important to dig a little bit deeper in terms of the way that we frame the risks of social media. And honestly, I think the only class that allowed me to kind of understand that was like AP psychology, which is obviously a really niche kind of course, and it's part of an education that not everyone gets or has to get. And the second thing, speaking of psych, is kind of circling back to the way we use our Swedish resources. I think that a lot of that, I'm so sorry, also comes back to the fact that we're doing this in homeroom and in Flex. The way those resources are advertised are very similar to the way that our surveys are advertised. So I think that the decrease in engagement in our high schools in both areas is probably going hand in hand versus in our middle schools, even though I go to IHS and we see those resources being utilized more in IHS than the middle schools. I do remember in PCMS, our counselors coming in to, I think, like our social studies classes or our English classes and talking about it in an environment where we are typically trained to think that the content I'm getting in this environment is more crucial. Even though a lot of the content we're getting in our homeroom is crucial, I don't think it's kind of the notion that's held. So yeah, just the way that we present social media risk and also the way we present our mental health resources, I think we could alter.
Milo.
Back off of that, I think we need to go even a step further about being more direct. And rather than just saying the risks of social media, what social media actually does. Eating disorders and body image issues. Like those are real things that I have not heard mentioned at all in this survey, which is a very real thing that I know a lot of our high schoolers and middle schoolers struggle with. And I would like some questions on here on that, about eating habits and body image. And to go on that, it looks like on page 3, we added a new question recently about 2+ sugary drinks in a day. I think that's awesome. But I would love to see caffeine. I would love for us to have some information about caffeine, because the amount of students that I see coming into school every single day drinking 1-2 Red Bulls, having 400 milligrams of caffeine in a day. I mean, in light of that one girl, rest in peace, who passed away in a California school district because she had overdosed on caffeine. Like, I don't hear that in any of our health classes at all. We talk about the struggles and challenges of obesity, sure, and diabetes, yes. But we have never talked about caffeine and how it impacts especially growing, developing students. Like, I bet if you walked into one of the middle schools right now, not right now because they'd be asleep, but like tomorrow morning, you know, you would come into class and see a couple of those kids with Monster Energies in their hand, which is not something we want our 12, 13-year-olds drinking. Mind you, that was totally me, so I have no room to comment, but partially because nobody told me. Partially because nobody told me. I mean, we sell caffeine energy drinks at our school lunches, which, by the way, is insane. And I think we need to take a look at that on another level, because we sell ice caffeinated beverages at our high school. So, you know, that's another thing. But we really, really should be considering some of those other more direct pieces. So eating disorders, body image issues, and caffeine are those silent killers, along with social media, that we just haven't talked about. That I think if there's somebody, if I can speak to whoever makes the Healthy Youth Survey, I'll do it. And then also, in addition, on page 23, this is a little bit different, but at the very bottom, the question, learning in school is important later in life. You can see that it shows that the answers in the percentage include very, quite, or fairly. It appears to be, which in these surveys, generally there's only 4, maybe sometimes 5 answers. Like, it's generally very, quite, fairly, or never. And so for the positive to have all 3 of those feels a little bit like we're putting too much under that umbrella. So I would be interested to see why we're doing that, and if at all possible, if we could take it to just the positives, because fairly doesn't actually seem like a positive to me. So looping that in with very for the learning in school is important later in life actually seems like it might be skewing our data a little bit. So I just put that out there.
I was able,
Sorry, go ahead.
problem.
No.
I was just going to clarify and appreciate the point as well. It's that neutral response, right? Do you count that as negative or positive? I did just check. Question 220 has 5 response options. So the fairly is like the 3, but I hear your point.
Dr. Coyne.
I get to beat my drum on an annual basis. So I'm going to take us to 4.9. Students will learn and apply principles of sound financial management in order to support self and family, and particularly personal finance I want to touch on. I had an opportunity on Tuesday to visit the CTE Student Showcase, which was wonderful, and to hear from all the students who were showcasing their work. I had an opportunity to talk to a student who was there speaking about the personal finance class at Issaquah High. She said it was absolutely one of her favorite courses. We talked about how she's going to start investing in an IRA and how she was planning on ensuring she knew what her 401k match eventually would be at her future company and making sure that she was contributing to those levels. And, you know, again, I look at the data. This isn't different than what we've seen before. You know, there's definitely swings in what we see. You know, IHS significant participation in personal finance courses versus Liberty and Skyline High School. And I think a couple things I look at this. So one, you know, I think we need to have greater consistency across all the high schools. I think the thing too that I want to continue to stress is oftentimes people say, well, there's aspects of personal finance in economics and accounting, sales, marketing, maybe, but not really. The personal finance is a standalone course, and it should be elevated to that. Students who take it understand the importance of it, and clearly something's going well at Issaquah High that we need to model in our other schools too. Because I will tell you time and time again, I hear this from so many graduates and who said, gosh, I wish I had taken that course. I wish I had that level of knowledge. Otherwise, we're sending them off to either figure it out themselves or to potentially rely on a parent who may not have that knowledge either. And, you know, you especially as you're building up, you know, some of these habits, if you're doing things, you know, incorrectly, like, incurring credit card debt, for instance, if you start doing that at a young age, it's hard to get out from under that. So learning some of these good sound practices early on, like this student was sharing with me earlier this week at the CTE showcase, is life-changing. And so I really want to continue. I know we talk about this. There's a lot of things we talk about, and we never really see much movement. But I really would love to see movement in this area because there's such an interest in the community. I mean, I never talk to a student who says, oh, I don't care about personal finance. Every senior that I have spoken to said, gosh, either I had exposure to it and I would have liked more, or I had no exposure to it. And boy, that was a miss. So I don't know. I know we've talked about it. I know there's not necessarily an answer, but I would just love to see those numbers increasing, and I'd love to see them consistent across all of our high schools.
Well, and to more dialogue about that, I mean, if it's something that you really want to see, then that push has to happen right here.
Yeah,
So it's
agreed.
either this board says we need to see movement on that, either be a work group to identify what pathway process to make recommendations to the board or options for the boards to choose from. But right now, I think what you're saying is we just keep observing the problem and class after class graduates. I think I liken it to the strategic plan where you show like, hey, operational expectations and excellence is like a foundational part of our strategic plan. We're just listening because this is the givens. And I think that personal finance is that way too. For we want our students to be successful, this is a foundational thing that we need all of our students to get. For me, it's part of the durable skills, executive functioning. If you don't have that piece, none of those other parts matter, or they will require a lot more work to have the impact. So I would welcome for us to give some very clear direction about that. But unless you do that here, you're not going to get the changes that you want.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a fair, but yeah, I think it's a fair point. I mean, part of it though too is I know constraints and scheduling. I know that's a hard part of it, but I know that we need, and I'm curious what you both might think about all of this too, in that sense.
Yeah, I'll just talk high level real quick and then Rich can provide more details. But our approach has been to expand offerings, which is you look at the numbers, you can see overall there are increases, right? In students taking classes where personal finance is occurring or business and finance course enrollments. We've also looked at the actual curriculum where it's embedded, for instance, at the 8th grade level, and how to strengthen it, and also how to strengthen our personal finance curriculum and course to engage students more. So we are making progress at more options, increasing quality. At the same time, we know that the Future Ready Task Force for the state is considering personal finance as a graduation requirement. And we don't know yet what that will look like. Will that be a required course? Will that be a requirement for it to be embedded, and what that will look like to embed it effectively? So we're in this sort of murky place where we want to advance the work and continue doing that, but also not step out too far and then have to backtrack or create challenges once the state makes their decision. Rich, you want to add more detail?
Not too much. That was the main thing I was thinking about, is that the state is positioning itself to weigh in soon and give us some detail, and that will help. I always every year want to give a shout out to the IHS program, because I think they've done a tremendous job of making it an attractive thing and recruiting kids into the class. We are adopting new personal finance curriculum this year. We are making sure that we've clearly articulated a part A and part B so that we can put in the course guides, kind of like, hey, if you want to learn about these topics, it's in that first semester, here's in the second semester. If you want to take half a year, if a year of course seems like too much. I also want to point out that Future Ready, not to overlook that one, because that's a really good class that really is about the personal readiness to participate in the economy and in the workforce that also touches a lot of personal finance topics. And so I'm happy to see some increases in that. And so I think it would behoove us to look at both of those two courses together as well. But you know, here I am, I'm also a dad who tried to get my son to take the class and he didn't. I couldn't get him to take the class and make that choice. And one of the things we're up against is it is a choice the students have to make.
The other course offering that is being offered next year is AP Business and Personal Finance as well. So that's speaking to the expanding offerings.
Yes.
Yeah, so why was that not expanded to Skyline? So if we look at the data, which shows that Skyline has the least amount of students that are participating, maybe the opportunity for them to earn college credit might get them to bite. And so I'm a little concerned from the equity lens why our school with the least participation is not getting the chance to take that class. And sure, if you offer it and no one signs up for it, then great. But if we know that what drives the Skyline student to sign up for a class is different than what it may drive other students in our school district to sign up for classes, that might have been a missed opportunity to not have that course there.
I think noted. Skyline was focused on the other AP courses that they were offering. And currently looking at this list of course enrollments, there is high course enrollment. So much to your point in IB Business Management, right? That there's that dual credit opportunity. So it is noted for future. Thank you.
Because I think, Dr. Coyne, you're gonna have to say, like, we need to see what it would look like. Like, say the board said personal finance is gonna be a requirement for graduation in this school district. What would that actually look like? Like, pressure test that for us so we could see what would we have, what's the give and what's the take? Because I think that's really the next step you would want to know in order for your decision making is like how force functional would it be for a student? And I think it would have to have the parts of, we know that average student walks in from 8th grade into high school already with X number of credits. So we're really talking with a universe of 30 credits, not 28 and not 24. So I just think it's less onerous than we think.
I think you're right. And I think we need to define it and also sell it. At Issaquah High, they're clearly selling it where the other high schools are not. And I think people need to fully understand what topics are covered in a personal finance course too. So I think there's that value. I think we need to educate everyone around what's in the course, how does it differ from current course offerings, educate our community. I mean, people are open to it, but we need to talk about the importance of what it is too, so we can get that buy-in. Clearly they're doing it at Issaquah High. And I think whenever you see something that's an outlier, that's where you lean in and try to emulate if you can.
Actually, as I look at the numbers again, I also want to give a little kudo to Liberty because remember, it's a much smaller N size. And so an increase up to 98 is actually a substantial increase in percentage of a class. I know that they're not all the same grade level, but I do want to give kudos and some growth in Liberty High School's personal finance program as well.
No other comments? Okay.
Oh, no, we have more comments, but if you have comments, you can go first.
Okay, I'm just gonna up level a little bit because my colleagues have raised a bunch of great points. It's been a real best discussion. I just want to mention, I hope our community takes the opportunity to look at this monitoring report. There's so much rich data in here about our kids and their experiences in our schools and how they are doing. And I want to give just real kudos to the district because this year's report, there's increases, across the pages as you're looking at the data, anxiety and depression numbers are down, smoking and drug use down, screen time, social media use is being tempered. on and on and on. Kids participating more in their school activities, more of a sense of belonging. All of these things are really reflective of the great work that's going on here in the district. And I want to take that opportunity just to point that out. And that's reflected in the report. So I think that's great. As to personal finance, my reaction was seeing these numbers. Obviously, there is interest in the district. The numbers are increasing across the board amongst our students to get this type of, education. So to me, the state requirement, very cognizant of that, but I'm willing to do the work now. Why don't we do the work? And if the state doesn't go where we want to go, we will have done the work so that we can say, okay, we now know what the state's approach is. We either agree or disagree with that as much as we can within our requirements. But let's do the work now. And to Director Gallinger's point, let's pressure test it and see what it would look like moving forward. Because I think we're, over the course of time, last year at least, the conversations the board's been having, I think we're all in favor of that. So I would just put a vote in for yes on that approach. Two other things I would like to say, just a placeholder for us to consider. I would like to have a follow-up discussion on the new cell phone policy at some point. I realize this report is looking back, but it just triggered in my mind. We've had a year now. I would like to have a discussion about how we feel that policy is doing. And if there's opportunities there, there'll be opportunities for us to get that onto an agenda, I'm sure, in the future. One last thing. The overall imperative, though, for this report to me is we have got to find a way to get our 12th graders to respond. I mean, it's just a must. By next year, we have to have the data, because it was very frustrating, as much as I found great in the report, very frustrating for me that I essentially thought I had no data on 12th graders and how they were doing, and it was essentially pointless to me. So that is the imperative. Let's find a way to make sure that we get that data, and we can do it. So, Dr. Gallinger, you had a follow-up comment.
Yeah, I mean, we find out we hold parking passes, we hold homecoming tickets, like we do all sorts of things for our students that they can get until they do XYZ. So I think this can be one of those important things.
Yeah.
Because it's so meaningful to them. Page 14, we talked about this every year, but not, I mean, every year, so we've seen this trend, but two parts. One of the fifth, not the fifth grade, the 8th grade exit survey of the trend. I would like that reported out to us after this meeting by school, because I would like to see the 3-year trend by school, because it could be such that to get to 52%, it's really 90% in one school and 40% in another school. And I don't know that. So I don't know the extent of the trend impact across our district, if it's building or not. So that would be helpful for me. But then the question is, what are we going to do about this? Because if you're including it in this report, that must mean something that it's important to you for that. And so then the next table, which lists all our high schools, shows a similar but much less sharp trend, but still same sentiment. So the question is what do we want, or what is the plan to remedy this in the future? So I would specifically want whoever's keeping notes for this, for a specific call out on this for next year's report, that there's a reflection or what's been changed, because one is a whatever, but now it's a pretty clear trend.
It is certainly a trend. And the question I'm asking myself is, what are the barriers? What has shifted? And we need to do a deeper dive into that. So I'm excited about the section around student voice and student engagement and connection and strat plan refresh, so we can go deep into that and learn more. Just backing up slightly to the survey, I just want to acknowledge, certainly, there are other methods we can employ, and we can go about that differently to increase participation. In fact, I want to share some emerging good news. As many of our students said, they've been taking the end of year surveys. And currently we have 17,000 students in the system to take the survey, and we have almost 14,000 that have taken it so far. So we are following the data diligently and following up in very strategic ways.
Any other comments? Okay. I believe then we are to the point where we will have an advisory vote by our students. Can we cue that up?
And while students are voting, I would just concur with what uh, Director Taylor said. Like I do, while we spend so much time picking a report apart, I don't want the message to be like, I am so happy with how the district cares about our students and how the district is investing so much in our whole child. Because yes, we talk a lot about academic data. We talk a lot about where we want students to be able to have the chance to go, but we equally talk about how we want our students to be successful broadly across all domains of life. And this doesn't just happen without the intention that our superintendent and her team does in this. So thank you.
Director Coyne.
I just want to tack onto that too, because I completely agree. I think that people who are watching it probably think, gosh, they're picking that report apart. I will say part of our job description is to dig into these reports so it can feel like we're picking at it. But we do appreciate all of the work that goes into building the report, the data that's put into it. It's hugely important. So thank you.
Okay, I think the results are in, 5 in favor. Great, thank you, students. And at that point, now we have a motion to accept the monitoring report for results for life management and personal awareness. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And the motion passes. That's great. Thank you so much. That was a great conversation. Next up is a discussion about the strategic plan and strategic plan update, priority areas, and first read. The administration will have a brief presentation.
Great. We're going to tag team on this one. I'll spend more time helping to lay out some of the direction that we're going, but I will turn over to Mr. Hauser to go first.
Good evening again, board, community. We're going to share our first read, but also walk through a bit of the strategic plan and our process that led us to this first draft of the architecture. Oh, Dr. Taylor.
Okay.
All right. So as we walk through, just to know the presentation is online, so we're going to go through it pretty briefly on some of the content areas. So feel free to link to our website and go deeper if you need to. But as we walk through, we typically share anytime we walk through a board presentation, we talk about the guiding documents that lead the work. This is no different. As we went and approached the strategic plan refresh, the approach was to anchor with our vision, mission, and goals for students. So this is typical with any process, but especially in this process as we redesigned and refreshed the work. This is also a crowd. We share this consistently every time, just the structure of the plan, just about the cohesion and how things work together and fit in that triangle. And I'll spend a little bit more time here. So part of the reason why lessons learned over the last 3 years related to this plan, there were big themes and lessons that we learned as we worked the system and worked the problem and worked through the strategies. One thing that was key was the fact that we knew 18 strategies was a big bite in the last 3 years. So it was clear that we needed to condense and go a little bit smaller, shrink it down to more manageable bite-sized strategies going forward. So that was a big lesson that we learned throughout the way. Also grain size. Our last version of the plan, we had varied grain size, depending on if we needed to create something, a system that didn't exist, maybe a smaller grain size than a whole larger like MTSS or a processor way of being a framework, which is much larger and adaptive. So you'll see on this next version, it's more focused on adaptive strategies, less strategies, but very complex strategies going forward. The other piece that guided our way, we continued on the learnings from our last go round. So delivery associates and other consultant groups that we've worked with, we've taken that knowledge and that training and we've continued it forward. So you'll see these 5 questions integrated in everything we do. So it's always, it boils down to very simple questions. What are you trying to achieve? All the way down to 5 if you see, how do we ensure lasting impact? So it's consistently asking ourselves these questions as we do and create and design new work. So we go into timeline and engagement. We started, it's hard to believe, but we started this plan way back in spring 2025. So we were in a process of talking to parent groups, talking to students, and gathering themes on what this could be. We are now a year later in spring 2026, and we have the draft of the plan. So it's been a journey. It's been working throughout, and I'll share a little bit along the way, sort of what themes came out. So you can see spring, there were some very consistent themes. So student well-being and mental health. You'll see student voice and leadership. You're going to see that as you go out and as you see the architecture and the rest of the plan. Big highlight, so the portrait of a graduate. This is a big piece of the work this year. So this is something that did not exist but was needed to really articulate what durable skills students needed in this space. So that was a big part or underpinning of this work, was the creation of that portrait of a graduate. And what you don't see here is 29 plus site visits to the learning sites, talking to different department groups to really figure out what's needed and what are the critical skills that students need as they process through our system. In the fall and winter, we then took the learning from there. So you see some of the themes, again, mental health, real world connections, listening skills, a ton of the same sort of skills that were needed. But one I'll highlight is key, because you'll hear this word a lot and our superintendent mentions it a lot, which is joy, right? The joy of learning. How do you create a joyful experience in school, but not just with students and their learning experiences, but with staff, amongst each other, with each other. So that was a thing that started to peak its head, I think, in the fall. We started to hear that. We talked about it. We shared about that. So big themes coming out. And just on the right, you'll see key initiatives that in the first go around, there were ideas. I guess the new high school wasn't an idea. It was been around for a long time. We've been trying to get that built, but it was something that didn't really exist in the work. So we didn't have that really outlined in the strategic plan work. Enrollment became a very key, hot issue for us. Like, how do we, work in a proactive way to pull more enrollment, draw more enrollment here? And then customer service, I'll point out that one as well. Big focus on how do you continue to create quality and excellent quality amongst all the levels. Moving forward to where we are now, we are in spring, and we again went back again to visit the 29 learning sites plus transportation and other departmental groups. So heard a lot, learned a lot. I will say from my perspective, I felt like staff really appreciated being heard. They appreciated us coming back and hearing what they said on the first hand, going back to the conversation earlier, which was, you took our feedback, what did you do? Well, we created the portrait of a graduate. So a tangible thing was created based on that feedback. And then coming back again, we were able to share with the groups, here's what was created, here's what we heard. Now we're building something else, the strategic plan. So I feel like that's been effective in building relationship with staff throughout. And then just to walk through, ton of themes. It was an iterative process of hearing from folks and building those as inputs to the plan. I'll quickly highlight here, students, they're not a surprise to folks here. They want collaborative working environments. They want project-based, hands-on, project-based learning opportunities. Things that we typically hear a lot as we go through, but there's been a lot of work in the last 2 years. Shout out to Julia Bambo, who does a great job of sort of creating these experiences, design sprints and such to pull in. But this is also built off survey data. Shout out to the surveys we're trying to increase. So this is survey data, and this actually is leading to something we're creating. So to make the point the board is making, their voices are important. Parent voice, we heard safety and crisis readiness, student voice, parent voice. And I was pointing to, obviously communication is always big, but the post-COVID disconnect was an interesting one, hearing from parents saying they felt more of a connection before COVID. And after COVID, there was just like hands off, don't come to the buildings. So getting parents back engaged, and I think it ties back to PTSA engagement and some of the problem of practice we've been working on with PTSA in partnership, like how do we just increase membership and let parents know you can be involved and engaged in your student learning. Staff voice, so staff capacity and workload. It's been a big thing that's come up across the 29 sites. Behavior support and mental health support for students. Curriculum pacing, it's been one, UDL implementation, community engagement. So there's been a lot of sort of themes that have come out. I would say in this, a lot of it is, okay, there's a lot you're telling us to do, but how do we get this done? Like, give us the clear instruction on how we implement this into scope and sequence of the work. We then, a very important group, we looked at as sort of co-builders of the plan, our district administrators. There are themes. We had a couple meetings, February, March, where we walked through and we did some exercises and really thought about what are the key things we need to focus on with this next iteration. So equity, MTSS, community trust, engagement came up. And then this group, so our board, we met at the board retreat and we talked through, kind of gave a stamp in time where we were and heard your feedback. And just to summarize and play back, we heard importance of whole child student well-being with accountability, clarity and precision of language. So we heard things were very high, I think written in the first draft. So very broad things, but what were the tactical steps underneath that, the how to get the work done. We heard homework and grading as an important lever. Joy, learning and joy, integration over silos. So there were some key themes that we heard from this group, this team, that we went back to the drawing board and refined the draft plan, which you'll see in a moment. Other pieces of, so trust was a big piece. And then again, equity has also been front of mind to make sure it's woven throughout. So we don't forget about equity. Then on this piece, and I'm trying to go fast here, I'm gonna tag Heather in a second. But the other part, the important slide we want to point out to the group and community is there was a lot of feedback. And then we came back to our district administrators on 5/19 and going through the draft architecture, talking about the feedback, showing them back their feedback. The themes that emerged from that meeting were joy, hope, and student well-being, trust, belonging, and culture, and then implementation. How do we take this from plan to going even deeper into the classrooms where teachers then can take this and integrate it into the work and they can see that connection. So that was a big theme of that meeting and that feedback at that time. And then the last piece I'll say before I pass it to Heather here is what landed well. Well, I think folks felt it was good to really reduce from 18 strategies to 3 priority areas and 9 strategies. That made sense to folks in the climate we are with the budget constraints that we have. We need to be more streamlined and focused. I think the other piece was joy, hope, and play continued to be validated in the space. That it's important that we have that as a like a part of this work and as a focus of the work. I think folks really appreciated MTSS and sort of the framework, like a focus on that and a sustained focus as we go forward. And I'll say again, emerging questions, implementation, like how do we make sure we get this done within the time that we have in the classrooms. And with that, I will rest and I'll pass the mic to Superintendent.
Great, thank you. So this is our unveiling of where we are after multiple rounds of feedback and multiple iterations. So we go to the next high-level architecture that shows our 3 priority areas, 9 strategies, and a very clear, explicit connection to our operational expectations and our commitment to excellence as it relates to some of the core functions that support every single staff member, community member, student, and family member. So we don't need to walk through it exactly, but this is our high-level representation of the big things that we'll be focusing on and where we will be organizing ourselves in terms of allocating also lead ownership over the different strategies and priority areas. It's important to us as we think through what a strategic plan looks like. It's the how, right, to the policy of the board, which is results 1, which is the mission. So this is not about policy, it's an answer to how we are making progress towards the mission of the organization. So it's very much focused on what are we going to do. And there's a lot of aspiration in here, but there's also a lot of practical matters of the course and direction that the board has set through the past year plus of discussion. And so we've made some explicit ties to that. So I think part of the other work that's been happening is we've gotten tighter in our linkage to board policy. I think that was somewhat clear. I mean, it was clear, right? But it was a little unclear going into a strategic plan how it would look and feel. And now that we have 3 years under our belt of operating, of discussing, and making those explicit linkages, I think we can have an even tighter connection that really advances the results orientation of the actual policies for the board, but also for the district. The one thing I do want to say, so as part of the strategic plan, with this commitment to operational expectations and excellence will always be part of how we are expressing our strategic plan, so that does not go away. So by saying it, we are certainly continuing to, we'll have owners set against, those areas of 1 through 5. And that's a place for our operational team members to really continue to drive the work. I see, for example, number 1 was actually part of the diverse talent priority area that we had in the first strategic plan, but it's part of the core of what we're doing. And it's still very much related to our commitment to representation, really thinking thoughtfully around our hiring practices to ensure that we are as intentional as possible to seeing all the ways people can contribute, and making sure that we are attracting talent from very diverse backgrounds and also backgrounds that match our family and student demographics. That's one example. To go a little bit deeper, we do have 3 cross-cutting strategies that are between student well-being and learning opportunities. The focus here is really around the sort of whole child as it relates to 1, culture, climate, and then 2, the actual strategies pedagogically and from a teaching perspective that really aid in the academic side. And then finally, the really clear sense of engagement and fun. And so there's a lot of research on hope. We saw some of that research displayed in and referred to in the results for monitoring report. But this was something that in particular was very promising in discussions with our administrators over the past few meetings, that was building upon all the feedback that was coming our way, especially from our teachers. A lot of our teachers and our staff in buildings said, we had some hard years coming out of COVID, and then we all got so serious because we were coming back and we wanted to make sure we were doing things right again. And we were really focusing on making it work after some hard years. And so I think it kind of got us to a point where we, maybe didn't center on the fun as much. So it is an important part developmentally. We know play-based learning, especially elementary school, is important, but we actually also know that matters across the board at all levels. So it's not that we just would only focus on play and fun at the elementary school, but we want to make sure that as we also create the conditions at our high schools where there is a lot of stress. That's an area where you're about to face the world after high school, and so there's even more pressure and requirements on you, and an expectation that you carry with you. As I look at our high school student representatives, so we don't want to lose sight of that across the entire system. I want to name here as well that, the homework and grading piece is very explicitly called out here in our words, because it has been a large part of the conversation that the board and their district has been having over many years. But I do, at some point, we always want to say, how do we make those connections? And that's another explicit connection as well. And then priority area 1 and 2, the other 3 strategies really are continuing to focus our work that we've been doing to meet the basic needs of our students and our families, really considering the partnerships that have been developed over the past few years and making sure those are still in place, and that we are continuing that partnership with families, that we are in that conversation to support student success. The promoting opportunities for students to find community inside and outside of school really is a direct also recognition of the data we just saw in results 4, too, around ensuring that our students do have a space where they feel like they belong, they can go to. That does look like activities potentially, or sports or clubs within the school day and outside of the school day that are directly affiliated with our schools. But it also might be other opportunities in the community where our students find belonging and shared affinity based on interest or other parts of their identities. And learning opportunities, this is very much focused on the secondary aspect of career connected learning. That's the work that we've been seeing and building on over the past couple of years in conversation. And then finally, the feedback that we got from the board under the trust priority, which is priority area 3, is centered first on student voice, and then continuing to engage with our staff, as well as then our community at large. So I'm going to pause there and just wanted to give that sort of additional dialogue to highlight a few things in the plan itself that we're putting forward for review and discussion with the board. And I know that we had a work study talking about the changes and evolution of the content here, even some of the verbs and language being used, which is natural to talk about because it matters what we say and how we say it. And eager to hear the board's discussion and reflection from also the work study.
Director Anderson.
Thank you. I've really enjoyed seeing this come together over the last few months. About 10 years ago, I had a boss tell me that I was a terrible strategic leader. So I have a lot of respect I changed that. I took that feedback and changed. But I like coming in and seeing the strategic plan and knowing the direction that the district wants to go. So thank you for all of the work on this. One of the things I really like seeing, obviously, as we have here up on the screen, is that trust is a full priority area. And we have heard from families that they want earlier, more meaningful involvement in decisions. What specific changes could families see in this area demonstrating, shifting to a two-way communication rather than just a one-way?
Great question. So, and thinking about some of the positive examples we've actually been starting to pivot towards over the past year, our levy committee, for example, was a great opportunity to have some really strong input from our community. Many of our families were participating in that. And that was, by and large, I think that the experience of that felt different to many of our family members and our community members, and was praised as really being very clear around what were the parameters from the district and the board, right, in terms of putting forward ideas. It wasn't just completely blank slate, but then also really meaningful discussion over the key choice points where we could truly gain the perspective and feedback from the committee members. So it's continuing to model. That's what it kind of has looked like and felt like in most recent sort of 12 months, but continuing to do that in all the different ways that we already have opportunities for students, our families, and our students to be able to engage. So even for students, it's not just about being on a committee, although we've actually increased the level of participation of students in our different committees, and that's been also another positive point, but how do we go to the next level as well? In terms of the strategy 9 here that's named, there's a lot of room here, which is launch and embed engagement efforts, right, with our community. I think that gives us more room. We don't have a predisposed answer in all the ways, but it's our commitment to making sure that we kind of build that next set of opportunities to get feedback. I will say that we have, we've talked about this because it was mentioned by Mr. Hauser. We do have a lot of uncertainty and challenges ahead of us. So we should be recognizing that, and we should be inviting people into that conversation. What are those tension points? What are the implications on the short and long term? And what does that mean for decisions? And part of that does require some education, but it also requires some conversation. Are you seeing that the same way? How might we think about it differently? Or is there other data we need to get to help inform our current state and the environment around us? So those are some examples.
Great. I also, wanted to touch on well-being, joy, and belonging. You touched, Superintendent, on that's probably a lot easier to do, like in the elementary school level, and then when we get into the middle and high school. In the strategic plan, how would this look different in a classroom or in a school, and how would we measure those? That we're bringing in that joy and that belonging. I mean, I know belonging can kind of go to the like club level and the interactiveness of the students in the school, but just that as a whole, how do we know we're doing well in that area?
Yeah, go for it. We could also flip to the metrics.
I was gonna say,
Yeah, it's a good segue to toggle back and forth.
You're leading this perfectly, Director Hanson. Thank you. So one of the measures, one of the indicators or metrics we use is we ask in our own soft skills survey in the spring, do students feel a sense of belonging or fitting in? So that's something that we've asked for the past 3 years, and we're proposing it continues to go on in the next 3 years. Excuse me. So that's one piece on the belonging, where it's perceptual, but it's a measurable thing that there's some longitudinal data from the past 3 years we can lean on just to track over time how we're doing. That's one piece. It answers half your question.
I will say that our ASB leaders certainly are thinking about the joy piece and always figuring out ways to increase both school spirit, but also belonging. I think the PTSA example, I think there's many people that can work on how we can foster greater inclusion, belonging, and empathy in our schools. And so the Bridges to Belonging emphasis from our PTSA leaders is certainly another example. So how we can continue to make a room and, ideate around what the best ways might be. It's also helping each other take those moments to also have some fun. So putting in a couple minutes of an icebreaker is one way of doing it, but we can be more intentional with how we make those connections with each other, because that also will help us build trust with each other through getting to know each other. So there's both big and small things that can happen, but those are just some examples. And I know that our ASB leaders in particular have also been thinking a lot about this and how they expand their ability to engage the student body as well.
Director Coyne.
Just a quick thought is, one, thank you to everyone, to the district on this great work. And Marcel, thank you for leading these efforts. You've done a wonderful job with this. I want to go to slide 22. It's 18 in the PDF document here, but it's the district administrators. And it's interesting, when I read this and then you reviewed it again, the comments on this page really stood out to me. These were exceptional pieces of feedback, but particularly equity, where it says equity must be named, not implied, integration without explicit naming risks invisibility. I guess I've been noodling on that since we went over it. Are you able to find it?
Oh, other one, okay.
Or
The previous feedback.
It's 22.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
yep. I guess, are we doing that? Are we naming equity? It just stood out. I just was really thought-provoking comment. I thought, are we doing that?
Yeah, so I think one of the strong examples of where that lives is certainly in strategy 4 under priority area 1, student well-being, which is I actually now I'm seeing that there's some it's hard to see all the page numbers. 2 slides after this. Correct, yeah. So the continue to build community partnerships to support their students and their families to meet basic needs. This is very much rooted in sort of equity as it relates to access and barriers that might be experienced based on economic background. So that is one form of access and opportunity that is very important. We know that if there are barriers to being able to access basic needs, then you're going to be already a little bit far away from being able to be ready to learn. So that is explicitly named in the sense of what the actual strategy is and what the activities are and the individuals who would benefit and be able to be supported. So I think that was the intent, I think, of that particular point of feedback from our colleagues. It's not necessarily saying this is about building equity, right, in the word, using the word, but actually showing it in a lot of the work. And then if I go and look at, if you go one slide back to strategies 1, 2, and 2 in particular, a lot of the aspect of identity and the range of our learners, identities and strengths and styles, and strategy 2 mentioned here is a direct recognition of the very diverse population of students that we do serve. That should encompass, as we look at our different efforts to build systems to assess where we are against a universal design for learning system, it takes into account the individual, and it takes into account their ethnic, racial background, their learning styles, lots of things. So these are some of the ways that our team is seeing that, and that we've been talking about it with our administrators.
And that's helpful. I guess I'm still stewing on kind of just equity must be named. I'm still going back to that because I totally get what you're saying, but I'm just thinking maybe I don't even understand. I'm not understanding what it means or what the intent was with that, because it feels to me like it's defining it somewhere, because I think we're implying it. And again, I may be interpreting this incorrectly, but it stood out to me. Remember that. Are we naming it? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, in our minds, so the conversation, the great thing to say this is, so this is also a sort of shorthand, probably, representation of all the dialogue. Explicitly being named is, as I said, I don't think it's about saying we will have equity and we will have focus on diversity, equity, inclusion, but we will actually be trying to achieve this kind of access, this kind of addressing of barriers to being able to have more outcomes, to be able to catch kids up when they're behind, because we know that many of our students are behind, and we see those different groups of students that have been traditionally behind, not just in Issaquah, but also in our country. And so what's happening is we're trying to explicitly get to that through MTSS, through UDL, just to use those shorthand acronyms. And then specifically, by centering on student voice, that is a form of ensuring that we have access and opportunity to hear from our students about what their experience is firsthand, because, and that is also work of equity. So that helps, that's to me, that's part of been our dialogue. And so I think actually that shift in naming, centering on student voice, and then helping, you know, our staff and students think about what are the ways they can think about strategies or ideas to foster belonging. How might that actually come to play by naming that engagement with each other as well?
That's helpful. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it's probably something, I mean, it's a thought-provoking comment. I mean, probably a discussion you get out from
And I'll
for a long
just
time.
add,
And to be clear, I think that the themes that were positive from, so that was in April, that feedback came in April. And then if you go to the slides where when we had our meeting with our administrators on 5/19, they feel that the trust, belonging, and culture was very positively seen in this next version. So they'd seen a different version through this process as well. So
Good.
I believe we were able to have good, robust conversation, and they felt like it was strengthened.
100%. And I think just to add to that is, it's more so just to make sure we have talked about integrating equity throughout the plan, but if you don't name a specific equity strategy, sometimes folks feel like it's going to get lost in the work. But I'll give you case in point, an example, anti-bias hire training throughout, right, was part of like training the system on how to hire and get past biases to increase the diversity in the system. So it is in the plan. It was in the plan, and it'll continue to be in probably the next plan as we go forward, like what the action plans, the tactical steps you'll take to make sure the system is holding itself accountable. So it will be there. I think it's just the system asking that question, reflective question back to ourselves to say, hey, if it's integrated throughout, or if everybody does it, does anybody do it? And I think that's a healthy question to always ask yourself as a checkpoint in this process. And to superintendent's point, exactly. It was a checkpoint. We talked about it, healthy discussion, and we continue to build. And you see the reflection back to the administrative meeting on 5/19. They can see the build and the reflective sort of action taken based on that.
That's great. Thank you.
I would say also the operational expectations 16, equity, all of the work between the strategic plan and the past 3 years, plus the work in OE 16, I think shows very
Correct.
Much of a continued commitment to build the capacity continually of our staff and our administrators, and the kinds of strong kind of cohesion around that as a continuous thread with one particular set of frameworks has been particularly beneficial as we continue to help each other, because it's a journey. We're all working on this to be better at understanding diverse perspectives and then adjusting our worldview and our actions accordingly.
Any other comments?
I really appreciate the alignment with the board's policies. I understand, I think 3 years ago, how we got to where we did and with bringing in the external consultants. And I think a lot of it makes sense. I think that was a necessary, important, I think just bringing the district into the concept of strategic planning that wasn't part of the district for decades. This, I think, feels more Issaquah. And so I really like the trust part. I hope that we, and which is I know is part of the last agenda topic, but that we align our staff, student, and community engagement as a board along with what the district is also doing. So as you guys, since you said it's kind of an open slate, you haven't decided things, as you do that will help us, I think, target what topics would be important. That way we do walk through this lockstep. An example for S9 would be like technology use in our classrooms. That seems to be like a growing conversation and question. And I don't want this to become an educational philosophy thing where now we're not going to teach phonics. The history that our whole like national education system and dialogue went through, because I don't think it needs to be that extreme. But I do think that the questions do need to be answered by our ed tech folks on, like, there has to be a evidence-based, right, amount of technology use within a classroom by grade band level or something, in the same way that, hey, if best practices are 10 minutes of homework per grade type of thing that we kind of adhere to. So something, whatever it is, I think just we're hearing enough that it's an opportunity for us to, one, do the engagement part, but I think part of the engagement is in the closed loop part of, so here's what we heard and here's what then therefore the district believes are the evidence-based best practices that we would want to see, that can signal to our parents and community of, hey, if you're seeing a classroom that's not aligned with that, when you have thousands of classrooms out there, like, let your principal know or send us an email. So I think those are the parts that I think that our community is not used to seeing, is we'll sit there and we'll listen, but then that's how they would see, like, okay, so they must have heard me. And while I may not agree with what they've written, at least they've come out and put their flag in the ground for, here's where we believe we should be. I think that's the part that we as a district haven't done as well, is that part. So I look forward to where the board can continue to help and walk along that together. So we're asking the same questions.
I would just say, again, I'm going to up level the conversation a little bit for my comments, and agree really largely with what Director Gallinger just said. This just seems like a much more mature approach than when we were 3 years ago. And again, to the point that was made, that work had to start somewhere. I recognized that 3 years ago, but I really do appreciate this. We've consolidated down to 9 strategies versus 18, which I think was a concern I raised 3 years ago, but glad that we're at 9, because I just feel like the plan here is concise, but yet encompasses all of the important work that the district is trying to accomplish. So very appreciative of that. I think it's easy to consume. And a lot of these things have aspirational components to them, but we should be reaching as much as we possibly can. But I'm not struck that any of these things aren't attainable, which I think is the perfect balance really in a strategic plan as you're trying to move forward. So I just really want to also recognize the good work here, because this has been a year of developing this, and the process of taking very complex issues and boiling them down into something succinct that can be consumed is an incredibly difficult task. And you've done a good job of it here. I think that's the extent, of my comments. So overall, I'm just really appreciative of the work, and I think it'll serve our efforts well as we move forward. Any other comments? Superintendent?
We do want to get some eyes on the metrics that we have been pairing with the strategic plan as part of the monitoring for results 1. These came a little bit after we had the board had sort of adopted a resolution to support the strategic plan as part of the monitoring process for results 1. So we have just a representation here of how this might look with some new suggestions for the next strategic plan. And so we want to kind of get this settled too out of the gate this time. Again, back to the maturity level, we can build on what we have done, but also adjust as needed based on what's important and what has come out of this process to get to where we are today. It's very clearly laid out. I'm not going to read it to people. And there's certainly room for flexibility as we know that the board has always asked this question too. I'll come back to this around what are there are a lot of data points that we do track, and we have that data in our monitoring reports, as we just talked about one of those examples. So it's not for lack of data, but as we think about the strategic plan, what are the things we want to even sort of boil down even more to see where we might see movement as well. And there's a lot of things we could choose to focus on. That is 100% true. There's different survey questions, not to belabor the point in surveys, but when it comes down to, what is the most important thing that might help us see if we're making progress at a very high level, how might we approach that? So any comments or feedback would be helpful, but I know that we want to continue certain metrics that came from the past, because that took a lot of time to think about where are the key moments in the educational journey we want to track.
My immediate response, when you heard us comment in the work study, but the where'd it go? There. If there could just be alignment about, so the one about learning opportunities, the third one about percent of students passing Algebra 1, grades A, B, C letter grades. I just would love to see consistency because I've heard now 3 different grades, and one I've heard from our monitoring report, B minus and higher is considered what the administration has said is proficient. C plus is the level that is in the MOU with our teaching staff, and then this is now C. So I would love for us to coalesce around one, and I understand our working condition ones are separate, but for at least the ones you can control, which is our monitoring report and this, if there would be alignment, I would appreciate it.
Thank you. We can bring forward some background information about that and also look at sort of the consistency of how we approach it. Sometimes it is about what we're tracking and as a progress towards versus the end grade as well. So we want to give ourselves room to look at different moments in time. But thank you for that point.
Last call for comments, questions? Okay. Thank you very much for the
Thank you.
presentation. I think this will be back at our next meeting for a second read.
That's right.
Great.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, well, now we are to the point in time where we talk about legislative matters. Director Anderson, our legislative rep, you have anything to report?
I do not. I will
Okay, not a
ask if
surprise.
anyone else has anything. No.
Been all quiet on the Western Front,
Yep.
for better or worse. Okay, announcements and correspondence. Next is the announcements and correspondence. This is an opportunity for the board members to add any correspondence they've received that is not already reported. Do we have any announcements or correspondence? I do not, personally. Nope. Okay. And then last, but certainly not least, the calendar of future agenda topics. Please get your calendars out. We do have a few things to discuss.
Should we table this until we have Director Mullings too?
I cleared all dates with Director Mullings
Oh, you did?
before offering
Oh,
out.
wow.
So
Okay.
take that.
Oh, shoot. I was hoping we could punt this one. I was like, oh, shoot, Emily. This is going to be a long meeting.
Okay. First up, we have Issaquah School District Retirement Celebration. This is set, right, for Tuesday, June 9th. So we'll want to all get that onto our calendars, which I will do right now. If it's probably already there.
I think Emily already put it on our calendars
I'm
too.
sure she did.
Yep.
I
Just
felt
before our
foolish the
meeting.
minute I said it because I already knew it had been taken care of. Okay, there it is. Great. We have the change on June 11th because that is our graduation week. We'll be moving to June 9th for our regular meeting. School board retreat. Oh my goodness, are we to the point where we have to?
This is the hard part. This is what I
Wow.
meant.
It's easy because it's early. Okay, so I guess we need dates in September or
Well, these are
maybe-
the ones listed that were cleared by Director Mullings, she said, the suggested dates. September 1 to
Oh.
17, 18,
how did I miss those? I
and
didn't-
29.
1, 2, 7. Okay.
Oh, we're even doing the
Uh,
March one. Oh, wow.
Guffaws, but
Yeah, that's what I meant. This is going to be we'll be here a while.
let's start with September. Let's not get too far.
That's
out of
true.
it.
Do it small. Yes.
September 1, 2 will work for me and 17, 18 will work for me as well.
Same. I don't have any.
On the 29th, I have to flush my hot water heater.
Okay.
It's on his calendar to do it.
When is Labor Day? Is it the
The
third?
7th.
Oh, it's the 7th. Okay.
Yeah. It's always the Monday right before my birthday.
No.
1 and 2 work for me. 17 does not work. 18, I'm available.
I would prefer to do it earlier if at all possible myself. I like that coming into the school year to
Oh, the 18th, we have a WASDA General Assembly meeting. the next day? On the
Yeah,
19th?
the 19th, yeah,
So
19th and
just FYI,
20th.
if we were to do it on the 18th of September, we probably don't want to do that.
Boswell was
that's
annoyed that I
general.
invited people to our boardroom that day.
Yeah,
I'd
let's not do
prefer-
back.
Yeah, I'd prefer, I think I can make September 1st and 2nd work.
Same. Let's
Okay.
go for that.
September 1, 2. I think there is a general feeling to postpone the March. I know Emily doesn't like it. Emily's on it. She'd have this
She
locked
wants
in.
some
I could
ducks.
throw darts at it, but I think
Yeah.
it would
Good.
change.
The
So I'm not-
17th is St. Patrick's Day, just FYI. March 17th.
Like, I'm not opposed to selecting. I just think it could change.
Well, I hope to not be working by that. Let's see. Um,
Yeah,
I don't really have any restrictions,
the only one that's not good for me is the 29th of March.
and the 24th is no good for me.
I think I'd prefer, can we do the earlier, like the 4th? It's so hard to know what will end up on my calendar. What is the 4th?
Oh, that whole week's open for me.
Wednesday?
Yeah,
It's
it's 2 days. Remember, 2 days.
Oh, so
It's
we're,
a
oh, that's true, we're picking
Thursday.
two.
The 4th is a Thursday.
So it'd probably be ideal to do.
Wait, for 27th?
First,
I
second,
think it's a,
or fourth, fifth.
oh, Thursday, Friday. You're right. Thursday. Thursday, and then we don't want to do the 17th.
We could do fourth, fifth. I mean, I'm not opposed. I do like doing them back-to-back days. Just,
But we don't have any that'll work, right? If-
oh, I was.
Because
you
it's
need to look-
4th, 17th, 29th, 30th, we're
Oh.
working with.
Oh, that's.
So if we want it back to back, we'd have to do 29
How do
and 30.
how does she really know that far in advance?
How does she know?
I don't believe that.
29th is the day
Let's
after
ask
Easter.
about the 4th and 5th in the next meeting.
I think
That
that's
can't
fair.
be
Yeah.
Easter.
Let's ask about the 4th and 5th in the
Yeah.
next meeting.
Okay.
Yeah,
So we'll do it
tentatively. fourth and fifth.
tentative,
Yeah.
clear with Sydney.
Are we going to come back and make motions on these after? I guess we have to do that.
Well,
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
Well, we don't have to do it for this meeting necessarily, but we have to do it at some point.
Well, should we move on the September ones? We all.
Well, just
agree.
as possible. Yeah. Do we want to do the,
Let's move on the September and we'll wait.
and
on
we
the-
won't do anything in March. Okay.
Yeah.
I move the board schedule the September 26 board retreat on the following dates and times, September 1st and September 2nd. Have a second.
I second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. There we go.
Right.
Okay.
Oh, we're doing the SIP.
SIP
too.
next. November. What's our, let's see, we are. We're doing by level this year, right? Elementary, middle, high,
We'll do-
Yes, and are
we'll-
we,
Yeah.
We do secondary together.
secondary together, and then, yeah, okay.
We did secondary together prior to this year.
Okay, so we only need two. We're not
No.
doing feeder patterns. Like before with that, we've had three. This is only two because we're doing, okay.
yeah, but I don't think we want to do secondary together. I don't know. If we wanna
That
do-
seems a little,
I don't think we want to do elementary, all of them together either.
I think, haven't we done it that way before?
a lot of people in the
Uh,
room.
I don't remember if this was the only time ever that we did middle and high together, because that would have been the first time. Because we've not typically done middle and high school together.
I don't know how you'd break it up though. I kind of like having all, if you have secondary, well, and also elementary too, having them all together. I don't know how you'd break it up.
Elementary's been all together. I just feel like 16 buildings is.
Well, you spend most of the time just making the comments and then your time's up and you haven't really.
So I guess my request is if we do all elementary together, it's a longer time period. Like it's just,
Mhm.
they need more time.
Yeah, we do need more time. How long are we usually? Are they usually 3 hours? 4? 3?
3.
3. So we might need 4.
Did it, I don't, so I don't remember if it felt not enough time 2 years ago. I don't recall that as a point of feedback, but I also think we can make sure that the structure and support for the board discussion is, I mean, I'm just thinking there's a, how we can help, with guiding questions, getting, topics in advance, that kind of thing. We can have tighter use of that time as well. But I'm trying to think back to this, so I'm looking
But
down
if
the,
we do the affirmation time for each of our buildings and we spend 3 minutes per building, which is small, that's 48 minutes.
I know.
Assuming there's perfect timing.
Which there's never is.
So we're saying,
Yeah.
so we have an hour just for that before we can even get to discussion question. So if you have a discussion question that President Taylor asked, each person gets 2 minutes of dialogue
have not.
within that, you're already with the 24 of us that are around that table.
Mhm.
Okay, now that's 48 minutes just for that again.
Yeah.
So I think we have felt the invisible pressure to not
I see.
participate.
Yeah.
And that's what
That's you don't want to have happen.
I
Yeah.
don't want to have happen.
I will say that I don't expect every principal to answer every question as well too. And that's something I actually want to get away from past practices. So it should be where there's relevant, right, and or targeted focus of contribution and or highlights or from the board interest. But
And that's hopefully you guys can set that up in
Yeah.
at a time.
I would suggest not the November 17th date, because that's just 2 days before we fly to Spokane for WASDA.
Yeah.
I would say because these are afternoon, I'd prefer not to do back-to-back dates just because that's time I need to take away from my job.
True.
So I'd prefer to have like, we
Third
did the
and
second
16th.
and we did like the 16th would be my preference. Like back-to-back would be really hard. If I'm out 2 afternoons.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and I think there's just too much focused conversations that are very different between our middle and our high schools. I think if you group them up, we will not have meaningful focused conversation with each.
You want to do a separate middle?
3.
Yeah, I was thinking,
Proposing 3.
yeah, I mean, it would be interesting to just have a high school
And
conversation.
they've been
right?
historically, they used to be, there was like elementary, middle, high, just like there was Issaquah, Skyline, Liberty.
So I think we scheduled the same, Emily's reminding me, the same day, but we didn't have them overlap.
Oh, you did a
We-
session.
for-
You
Yes,
did a
for-
session.
but we kept it the same day. So this is about maximizing also our staff time to be at the same location. So we didn't overlap.
Right, I know, because that way the principals could sit and listen if they chose to. They weren't
Right,
here.
they could
But we did, then I'm not opposed to that.
Mhm.
In the time that it was
longer.
It wasn't enough.
Yeah.
And it felt rushed. I just wanted it to be
Enough time to have good robust discussion.
not to be rushed.
So I would say we would want to go with 2 days. We can go longer. That makes sense. But to have 3 different days will be hard for us. And also with even looking at the calendar too. Yeah.
I'm fine with 2 3.5 hour days. That would make
Yeah.
sense to me.
Because there's 16 elementary schools. I mean, we would need more time with them anyway.
All right. So two days, but longer time for each.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I defer to my board members as to which of those dates they would pick. I've expressed my opinion about the 17th, but I will do that.
No to the 17th, but you're the
Well,
December date.
like I said, that makes for a very long
Oh,
school
agree.
board week.
Yeah. Could we do like either the 2nd, 3rd, and then the 16th and the 17th, just to
That's fine.
spread it out a little
Yeah,
bit?
yeah, it's fine.
Uh,
Actually, that's good,
Really?
too, because it's 2
two,
weeks.
you mean 2nd or 3rd?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't want to do them back to back,
Yeah, no,
just
that-
because
got it.
they're lengthy.
Well, it allows us more time to prep in between.
Exactly,
for
that
meeting
too.
plans and
Yep,
stuff.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm generally not available Wednesdays. So the 3rd. And I'm definitely, oh no, the 16th is the 3rd Wednesday, so I could do that one. The 3rd and the 16th would be what I would throw out there, because I want to stay away from work coming up to the end of break.
Mm-hmm.
None of us wants to be in this building.
Right. Yes.
Right? I mean, there's no, so on the 18th.
No,
So
16th, true. 3rd and 16th.
Works for me.
Director Coyne, does that work for you?
The 16th,
3rd and 15th.
yes, let's go with those.
We're going with the 3rd and the 16th. Oh, I guess we need a motion. Do we need a motion? Oh, I would think afternoons are usually better.
can we do the motion later when
Oh.
you have the times? Like once the administration can come back with the times. Yeah.
Okay. Very good.
So we'll hold on that one. And then
Elementary school listening sessions.
have we done these before? This is a great idea.
We have tried, and the last time we tried, we were going right into a bargain, so we couldn't do that to be a.
And this is with teachers. This is not community members.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah. Great.
great. I think it's good.
Yeah. Staff. Is it only teachers or is it staff at elementary school?
It's staff.
It's
but
all-
Yeah.
We generally line it to their, so it'd be in the Wednesday afternoons.
Yes, yeah.
Mhm.
And, okay,
We want to do 4.
how many of these do we do? Yeah, 4 meetings. Okay. My goodness, our fall just got really busy.
Well, because our intention is to essentially have them in 4 corners of the district.
Right.
And anyone from any building can go to any one or all of them,
Mm-hmm.
but to be respectful of their potential commuting patterns. Because some
Yes.
people commute north, some people commute south.
Mhm.
So it is to say we want to do this far enough advance and just have the locations published. So you're welcome to come to any one of these. This is not by feed. It's not intended to be by feeder pattern. It's intended to be by commuter pattern.
Yeah.
And I hope the district can communicate that clearly so people don't feel like the biases of like, oh, why does this school get it? Because it's not about
Right.
a school feeder pattern.
Could we do 3 then? Or what the intention of 4 is that for commuter pattern? Are you thinking of another location?
Well, just because and we have 16 buildings that we're trying to allow people to be
Yeah,
into.
4.
So dividing 1,200 staff amongst 3 potential meetings versus
There's a
4
thought
potential
that we do
meetings,
like 2 corridor because it's central and then 1 north and 1 south or something.
something like that.
I think we can strike December 2nd because we just said we're going to do SIP plans on the 3rd and same with the 16th, correct?
Mhm.
Or
And
those December dates are out.
I also suggest we cross out September 23rd because we're getting back from WASDA and we have a board meeting that week. So that's a lot as well.
Are we getting back from WASDA? Do we have
The 19th and 20th of September is WASDA and then the 24th is a board meeting. So if we did it on
Oh,
September.
no. The 19th is the General Assembly, which is here.
It's just here in our
In
board,
this room.
our board.
We don't have to travel.
Oh,
one day.
Okay.
The conference is in November.
Okay.
Gotcha.
I
Okay,
see.
sorry.
I don't know what that is. Okay.
No, I had the same thought earlier.
Okay.
But still, that.
But
well,
still a lot
point
of
taken,
board
it is a
stuff.
Saturday,
Yeah.
Thursday, that's 3. So that leaves us September 30th, the October dates and December 9th.
What about the,
I don't know how we all feel about.
what about the October dates? December's hard.
I was
Since
gonna
we
say,
already with the SIP meeting.
If we
that's-
did like September 30th and then we picked 2 of the October and then we had a December, that kind of spreads them out and gives multiple opportunities.
Yep.
Mhm.
I like that.
Okay.
We already have our SIP though on the 2nd and the 16th of December, so it'd have to be December 9th.
Yeah.
I don't think I have any blockers with the October dates there.
If I get
Same,
them on
yeah.
early, I could probably make those. So I can make those work.
Which,
Yeah.
what is the preferred time by the district? Because I don't care. I just would like to put in my calendar, whichever one I'm gonna do.
It says either 2 to
says
3:30 or
2
2:30 to 4.
What is,
2
What-
to 3:30 or
Dates work.
2:30 to 4.
What is our preferred
what is your
time?
preferred time?
Oh.
Our preferred time would be 2:30 to 4.
Oh, mine too.
Great.
2:30 to 4.
All the dates that you guys are discussing work for me, so.
Yeah, I just want to put in into my calendar since there's times.
Yeah.
Okay, so September 30th I heard, and then what was the ones?
September
you-
30th, then pick 2 October dates and then December 9th. So
So
we have the
I'm-
bookends. We have the 30th and the 9th.
I'm not available ever on the 14th or the 28th.
So it's the
7th and the
21st.
21st.
There we go.
That made it easy. And then December 9th. So we got our
Yep.
4.
Perfect. Do we want to make a motion then?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, we have
Okay.
Sydney's blessing.
All right. I move the board schedule elementary listening sessions on the following dates and times. All right. So we're doing September 30th, right?
Mhm. Yep.
We're doing October 7th,
Yep.
October 21st, and then December 9th. And we're going with the
2:30.
2:30 to 4 PM.
Mhm.
Right. You want a second?
I second it.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 You said December 9th. I'm trying to.
Yes.
Playing catch up,
Okay.
so.
And Emily, you'll send out invites. Perfect. So-
Are there any other items to discuss as to calendaring?
Got through.
Anything else for the good of the order?
Oh, yes,
Oh, good of the, oh, look at that, you snuck it in.
I did sneak it in.
Please, good of the order.
So I do want to kind of finish the conversation that we had at the end about the monitoring report, because I don't want us to leave it unfinished. So if we're serious about personal finance, then I think we need to add it to a board agenda to actually have a topic conversation about it.
Right.
And so want to know is, I'm not sure it makes sense to fit it in this school year. So when would it make sense? And now that we know we have a board retreat on September 1st, which is early,
That's what I was just thinking.
Why don't we?
but what I worry about if we wait till then, this is why I do think we need to either have it as a very short conversation so not a big topic, but some sort of like, we need to know what it is that we want a superintendent and her team to come to us with the board retreat for. Does that make sense?
So a framing discussion.
Of like, do we expect it to be like, come with 3 options so we can choose one of them? Do we expect to hear like just pros and cons? Like we're gonna need to give some guidance about what it is we want to have to be framing the discussion for our board retreat. I think it's unfair just to say, okay, we want to talk about this.
My feeling is pros and cons in that I think that we have time. I don't think we're going to want to move before we see what the state does.
Oh.
Well, no, let me put it this way. I think we can take the time to decide what we want to do a little bit more purposely, knowing that the state is going to move slowly. Because I don't think we're going to want to implement anything until we see what the state does.
But just for historical context, the state has talked about personal finance for the last 2 decades. So I mean, the state always talks about this at this topic. This is not a new topic for them.
But as I understand, they're framing something potentially for the legislature, correct? So either they're going to have a bill ready or they will not. And if they do not, then we can move forward. And if they do,
We still move
One-
forward.
One suggestion, can I make a suggestion? We can bring together and package some of the information that is most up to date. So I would want you to have a framing conversation in the context of information. And so that conversation could happen. It could happen at the last meeting in June. It also could happen at the first meeting in August to help set up for a conversation we come back to in early September, right? So that could be a way to step into it. I just want to make sure that we bring you information to then help you with what framing you want to consider. That way it gives you more to jump off of than it gives us more to react to.
Sure, I think, but yes, I think yes, and for the August sort of initial context data. But the specific things that I would want to hear in the board retreat is I would want you to show me what a potential, where it would fit into the 4-year course plan for our high schools. I would want to see it. And I would just want to see that as in what options would qualify. Would you recommend that the board would qualify for counting as that personal finance? So obviously personal finance and AP personal finance would count.
Right, obviously, yeah.
But if there are others, I would love to hear that because I don't know. My senior didn't take anything like that.
Related to that, yeah.
Skyline. So I would want to know where it would fit, what would qualify, and what we'd have to give up.
Yeah.
So
We-
those would be the 3 things that I would want to know. So that's what I'd like to hear from my board colleagues about what things
Yeah.
you would also like to know. So you can know those specific questions, and it'll be a far better use of our time in
Yeah.
board retreat when you sort of elevate those things ahead of time.
Yeah, I agree with all 3 of those areas. I think though, for it to be useful, we need specifics. I want to know how this would be programmed at Skyline, how it would be programmed at Liberty, and specifically at Skyline within the confines of IB. And I'd also want to know that how IB career track students and IB diploma students would have access to personal finance. So I have like very specific questions on that. So I want, if we jump into it, I would need those questions answered. I also want to understand their curriculum. I'd really like to kind of at a high level understand what the personal finance curriculum at Issaquah High and how, if we are looking at, programming at Issaquah and Liberty, how that would fit in. If it can't be fit in with a set course, are there themes that can be integrated in existing courses? And I want to make sure, again, it's personal finance themes, because I know we've talked a lot about some of these things and sometimes they bubble up into more of economics or accounting. So I would like to really get into the specifics on that, because I do think that there are some programming constraints at Skyline specifically for this, particularly within the IB program, to be able to add in personal finance. So I would love to see what those options are. So I would really want specifics, because if it's too high level, I don't know what I could do with that.
Yes, I can understand where you're coming from. I worry we're veering really into the operational part of implementation of a policy And I understand because
Agree,
the-
but but to
because
push
the
something, I
nuances
need to
of an
know.
IB high school.
Yeah, I mean, I can't push, and I totally get that. We don't want to get too far into the weeds in it, but for us to push something, we need to understand because to your, I think the third point, like, what do we lose if we push on it? That's why I think it has to become more specific.
But I think by me asking what is like where it would fit in their course schedule, like in their 4-year plan, they would have to show that for each high school.
I feel like that's too high level for me. I would need to know specifically what would be lost if we put it in.
I would suggest we allow the administration to come forward with a plan.
I think that's
Or two.
That's fair too. Fair too, but I'm just saying, I think for us to take initiative on it, we would need to know some specifics. That's
But
just
still
my,
clear with their plan.
yeah.
That's my feeling.
I just,
So-
don't
To me,
I can't
to-
push on anything.
The big question for me is just really, is it even possible with the constraints of the
Exactly
requirements?
what I'm wanting to, but I need the specifics.
How about this? So I heard a lot of, I heard a lot of, questions, right? And a range of those questions. I heard, our team will need to consult and figure out how big that ask and what work that would take. So then we can come back to you and say, this is, what we could potentially share and on what timeline, and how long that would take.
Yeah.
And that would be important to know because we're at the end of the school year and then we have a lot of July time away. And then all of August is preparing. So I was even thinking that our biggest push is going to be preparing for that September 1st and 2nd time. But we'll have very limited bandwidth for, if it takes a lot of conversation with other people, that we'll have limited time to do that in August to prepare for the board retreat versus being able to pull things that are off the shelf, right, to set up for discussion. So I'll get back to you based on what I just heard you all say or interest to learn more about.
Yeah, and I'd be interested in a timeline because I kind of with Director Gallinger, I don't want to wait for the state. I think I would like to see a plan where we could proceed without waiting because it could just continue to be delayed and we can
Well, I
implement a lot faster.
Truth of the matter is though, anything we do won't be until what, 28, right? I mean, whatever we say, mandate.
No, it would be
27, 28.
20, it'd be 31.
31.
It would-
right,
Oh,
yeah.
31, like
Yeah, with the new.
you can't,
Yeah.
we
Right,
can't
you can't
change,
mandate it.
Well,
we can't change the graduation
Right.
guidelines for anyone who we have.
It'll be the
Yeah.
class. Yeah, it'll be 31.
Yeah, so that's exactly right. When you play out the actual, when you set the graduation requirements for the upcoming class. So I do think what is different right now, because I know that the state has been talking about this for a while. What is different is the emphasis on the role of financial literacy in schooling. That is very different. The method there's a range there, and it's anyway. So I think that that does feel different to me, and it does feel like there's more kind of will, right? But the question is how things happen, what the ripple effect is on staffing. There's a lot of operational questions too. So I understand your point around specifics because it is helpful for us to also share that out, and we will get also, I think, pretty rapid fire updates from the state too on some of those other directions in the next couple months. So I don't think it's going to be too far out with some of that direction.
Good?
That's good.
Yeah, okay. Anything else for the good of the order?